Good morning and welcome to the Jim Rohn Weekend Leadership Event with special guests including Brian Tracy and Dennis Waitley. Now, let's meet your MC for the weekend, Chris Widener. Chris has been speaking professionally since 1988 and has shared the stage with U.S. presidential candidates, nationally known television news anchors, best-selling authors, and professional athletes. He has spoken on motivation and leadership to some of America's finest organizations, including General Electric, Cisco Systems, and the Harvard Business School. Chris has written over 350 articles and 5 books and has produced close to 30 audio programs on leadership and motivation. His articles appear monthly in nearly 200 publications. Chris is also the featured contributing editor of the Jim Rohn One-Year Success Program. Chris's newsletter, Made for Success, has subscribers in 105 countries, making it one of the world's most widely distributed newsletters on success and leadership. His most recent book is The Angel Inside, Creating a Life of Power and Beauty. Now, let's welcome to the stage, Chris Widener.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Anaheim. How many of you are excited to be here today? Well, welcome to the Jim Rohn Weekend Leadership Event. It's going to be an extremely exciting 3 days, and I suppose I don't have to tell you that. We have people literally from all over the world, of course from the United States, but then also all over the world. I did a brief, quick walkthrough and just took a look at where some folks were from, and I wanted to just tell you where a lot of the people came from. Certainly this isn't an exhaustive list, but it's a list from outside the United States. Nigeria, Norway, Australia, Italy, the UK, Mexico, Canada, Finland, Denmark, Ireland, Switzerland, Belgium, the Cayman Islands, and I think we even have some folks from New Jersey. So it's going to be a great 3 days, and it's okay. I can bust on the people from New Jersey. I actually did 3 years in New Jersey. Well, I mean, I lived in New Jersey for 3 years. Today, let's just give you an overview. We have coming up shortly Jim Rohn. Then later on in the day, the great Dennis Waitley is going to be here with us. And then later on after that, we're going to have Jim back on the stage. And then, of course, we have the teenage session, which is geared for teenagers, but certainly everybody is invited to that, and it's going to be an extraordinary time as well. One thought I want to give to you as we begin this day and this weekend, and it's around the idea of ideas. I love the concept of ideas, because ideas are the seeds of what become our lives. And over the course of the next 3 days with Jim and Dennis and Brian, as well as a number of the other speakers, you're going to get literally thousands of ideas. And I think about the power of ideas. You know, Microsoft started as an idea in someone's mind. The automobile started as an idea in someone's mind. Space travel began as an idea in someone's mind. In fact, the very foundation of our country, the United States of America, began as an idea and a concept inside someone's mind. Truly amazing what happens when we allow an idea to grow inside of us, and then transform by action to begin to develop the kind of life that we want to live. And that, to me, is the most exciting reason to be here today. Each and every one of you is going to be kind of on idea overload. You're going to have little ideas that are going to pop into your brain, and what comes into one person's mind is going to be different than what really sits inside of someone else's mind. But take those ideas and write them down. You're going to take lots of notes, and then begin to let them germinate inside of you. Begin to let them grow into something that when you go home you can place into action. The power of ideas is truly amazing. And there's really no one better at ideas than our first speaker today. Over the last 40 years, he's spoken to about 6,000 audiences. He's written numerous books, many audio tapes, CDs, of which most of you in here can probably name and have experienced and really enjoyed and benefited from. He is a gentleman who truly probably does not need an introduction to you, but I'm happy to be able to be the one to do it. It is my great privilege and my high honor to be able to introduce to you for this weekend, Jim Rohn. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. Wow, thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Wow. Save some for the end. How many of you have never seen me before? This is your first time. Wow, everybody. So I'm not so famous after all. Anyway, nice to have all of you here. It's a long journey here for me from the farms of southern Idaho, where I grew up, to, next door to Disneyland, with all the spotlights and cameras and all of you here. It's just a bit much. It's unbelievable. I did my first for-pay seminar in 1963 at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, California, called Adventures in Achievement. So this now makes my year number 41. So, a lot of years. And my big purpose now is to keep my journey going. I just got back from Argentina last week, and next week I go to Venezuela. Toward the end of the month, back to Italy and Europe. A little later in the year, Asia, South Africa, and Australia, and who knows where else. So from my travels around the world, I just really dropped by to say hello and share some ideas. But I'm thankful for the opportunity to share these ideas one more time. The ideas I want to share with you so dramatically changed my life. I'm always excited about the opportunity to share them, one more time. I quit school at age 19, unfortunately. My reasoning was, I'm smart enough to get a job. How much smarter do you need to be? And with that bit of shallow thinking, I quit school at age 19. A little while later, I went to work. A little while later, got married, started this little family, and I'm out there working hard, doing the best I could. But falling a little bit behind every year. Finally, the creditors once in a while are starting to call, saying, you told us the check was in the mail, and I'm embarrassed by that. And then I'm sure some of you, if you've listened to my cassette tapes or the CDs or heard some of my material, the Girl Scout story finally occurred, age 25. I hear this knock on the door. I go to the door, and there's this Girl Scout, about this tall, selling cookies for the Girl Scouts. I mean, she gave me one of the finest sales presentations I've ever heard. Special deal, several flavors, Girl Scouts, best organization in the world, only $2. And with a big smile, she very politely asked me to buy. No problem. I wanted to buy. Big problem. I didn't have $2 in my pocket. I'm a grown man. I live in America. I'm married with a family. I've been to college 1 year. And I've been working for 6 years, from age 19 to 25, and I didn't have the $2 in my pocket. And I didn't want to tell her that. That seemed too embarrassing. So I did what I thought was next best. I lied to her. And I said, look, we've already bought lots of Girl Scout cookies. We've still got plenty in the house we haven't eaten. She said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. And she leaves. When she leaves, I say to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I mean, how low can you get lying to a Girl Scout, right? I mean, that's the ultimate. So I started my search that day, and sure enough, very shortly, I met this extraordinary man by the name of Mr. Earl Schoaf, and my life was never the same after that. Chris mentioned ideas, and that's where this whole flow of unique ideas started for me, age 25. I had the opportunity to go to work for this extraordinary man. I worked for him for 5 years. Then, unfortunately, he died, age 49. But the things he taught me during that 5 years transformed my economic life especially. But my personal life, my leadership chances, all of that came from that unique experience. So maybe it's true when the student is ready. When someone says, I've had it, you know, this is it. I don't want to live like this anymore. And then you begin a new search. So make this note now for the first of the notes we're going to share in my portion for today. If you start the search, the odds are excellent you will find good ideas. If you search, you will find. Finding is reserved for those that search. Ideas are not reserved for those that hope. They're not reserved for those that wish. They're not reserved for those who complain. You know, good ideas are reserved for those that search. So the first thing I want to do is congratulate all of you for being here, continuing your search, spending the money and spending the time to come and spend a few days, and see if you can't, through the accumulation of hours and speakers that we have during this weekend, go home with a harvest of good ideas for your business, for your life, for your marriage, for your friendships, for your economic future, and, you know, for all of the rest. We've all heard the expression, nothing so powerful as an idea whose time has come. How very true. The walls came tumbling down about 15, 16 years ago in Germany, and the time had come for capitalism to finally reach those unfortunate countries that have been dominated by communism for so long. And that idea now is beginning to flourish. I've been teaching capitalism now for the last 10 years in Russia. I've made 5 trips to all the major cities. It's incredible when an idea finally comes and the time is right, what can happen. So, ideas, when an idea and its time is ready, it can be incredible. But now here's the next part for your notes. Nothing so powerful as an idea that comes at the right time. And hopefully today for you and the rest of this series of good trainings, this would be a good time for you. Maybe you've got 3 numbers of the lock that needs 4 numbers. And you've already got 3 already dialed in from, you know, the sermons you've heard and the lyrics of the songs you've listened to and personal conversations and meetings and trainings and seminars and books you've read, all of that, right? You got the 3 numbers. And just maybe, this weekend could well be that 4th number for you that you've been looking for. And the lock will open and the door will open, and there could be some real new accelerated opportunity for you over the next few years of your life. So I hope that's true. From what I have to say and from Dennis and Brian and other speakers that are going to share with you, this could be a very important weekend for you. I hope it's one of those life-changing weekends where you look back and say, wow, I was never the same. And the chances are excellent if you keep going to as many things as you can get to in terms of information, ideas, seminars, lectures. Because if you go continuously and systematically, some of them will be routine, some of them may be ordinary, and then just once in a while, some may be extraordinary, and you're never the same again. And you'll look back on that experience and say, that was one of the days that turned my life around. So I hope this weekend, from what I have to share and the rest of the speakers, this is one of those extraordinary weekends for you. Here's another note to make. No one person has all the answers. No one person has all the ideas. We need to gather ideas from a variety of voices and from a variety of experience, from social to personal to political to the management of time, the conservation of resources, business, entrepreneur, career, all of that. Being a good parent, a good mother, being a good father, being a good friend, a business colleague. You've got to have a whole variety of ideas. So this weekend, we're going to have a chance for that. Multiple speakers and a chance for multiple ideas to come your way. Next is a little phrase that I'd like to have you memorize. And if you memorize it, I'm sure it'll follow you for the rest of your life. And if you're ready, say, I'm ready. Ready. Here is the phrase. You can write it down as we memorize it. Here it is. From testimonials and personal experience, repeat that for me. From testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude. I'll let you write it down. We have enough information to conclude. So repeat for me. We have enough information to conclude. If you were composing this, I don't know what you would write after this. We have enough information to conclude that it's possible. Jot that down, that it's possible. So repeat for me, that it's possible. And the rest. To design and live an extraordinary life. Make that note, to design and live an extraordinary life. So repeat that for me. To design and live an extraordinary life. Now, let's repeat it from the beginning. Here we go. From testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and live an extraordinary life. I hope you will give that little phrase some consideration, and here's what's next. I hope you buy the idea that from testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and live an extraordinary life. And what I want this weekend to be for you is the gathering of more ways and means to design and live for you an extraordinary life. I don't know how far you want to go. Here's the first essence of life, and that is self-preservation. To produce enough to take care of yourself. The instructions given right to the couple that left the Garden of Eden. One was to multiply. It's a lonely place with only 2 people. But here were the next instructions, to be fruitful. How fruitful, how productive should one be? And here's number 1, to produce enough to survive. To produce enough to take care of yourself. And self-care is important. If you're flying on an airplane, the flight attendant says if for some reason we run out of oxygen, these oxygen masks will fall from the ceiling And if you have children with you, quickly take care of them, then take care of yourself. No. 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 They say what? Put your mask on first. Put your mask on first. See to your survival first. Then you'll be more capable of taking care of the survival of your children. Isn't that interesting? My father had an interesting saying. He said, "Son, right after me, you come first." Wow, that's okay. I was in business with Bob Cummings, the old movie star. We were in the health and nutrition business together back in the 60s, 61, 2, 3. Bob had an interesting saying. Here's what he said: "I'll take care of me for you. Will you please take care of you for me?" So the first challenge in life is to take care of yourself. It is to survive. So, to produce enough to survive, to take care of yourself. But now what's next? Well, all alone, it's a lonely life. So let's say the man now chooses a partner. Now he must figure out how to produce enough for himself and his spouse, his wife, his partner. Someone says, "Well, why do that? Why not just take care of yourself?" And the answer is, it's a very small life. It's a very limited life. We wouldn't call it flourishing. We wouldn't call it abundant. Just taking care of yourself. That is the first rule, but that's only the beginning. So the man gets married. Now he must produce enough for himself and for his wife. And here's the key phrase to make a note of: to live the higher life. A life of togetherness. The storyteller says, it seems even God didn't want to be alone. He created all of these angels. Right? So, to join with someone, now you must produce enough for yourself, for your partner. Now, is that it? And the answer is no. How about children? Let us have children. That's a unique experience. So now if the man has a wife and now he has children, here's the challenge: to produce enough for himself and his family. Now someone says, "Well, why take on all of that? Why not just take care of yourself?" You could, yes, but you couldn't live this more extraordinary life without taking on the responsibility of having a partner, having some children, and live that kind of extraordinary life. So I think everybody would agree. Now, is that the end of it? No. Here's the next challenge: to produce more than you need for yourself and for your family. Someone says, "Well, now why start being ridiculous here?" Yes, produce enough for yourself. Well, yes, if you want to get married, produce enough for yourself and for your spouse. Now, with children, produce enough for your family, but why do more than that? And jot down the answer: to live a more extraordinary life. So now the man produces more than he needs for himself and for his children, so that he can be a person of benevolence, so that he can give and so that he can share. That's the more abundant, that's the more extraordinary life. To produce more than you need for yourself and for your children. Is that it? Let's take it a couple of more steps. How about producing much more than you need for yourself and for your family? Someone says, "Well, now you're off the scale. I mean, why work that hard? Why go that far? Why produce that much?" Some would say, just take care of yourself. Some would say, just, get a partner and that's it, and then children and that's it. And be a bit benevolent and that's it. But why not go this next step and produce much more than you need for yourself and for your children? And when someone says, why do that, all of us know the answer, right? Why not? If you've got the talent and the skill and the opportunity, why not put all of that together and see if you couldn't produce much more than you need for yourself and for your family? Let's say you earned $10 million this year, and you and your family only need $3 million, which would probably cover most families, right? Some families are more expensive than others, as I discovered. But let's say $3 million would, cover a big, high percentage. So now if you and your family only needed $3 million for the year, now you have $7 million to give. And someone says what? Why do that? And the obvious answer is what? Why not? If you've got the talent and the skill and the time and the opportunity and the occasion and all this stuff comes together, why not? Let's go one more. How about producing far more than you need for yourself and for your family? And live the far more life. We've heard the story of Andrew Carnegie, right? Andrew Carnegie said this. He built the big steel industry back in the 20s here in America. Here was Andrew Carnegie's goal. I'm going to spend the first half of my life earning money. I'm going to spend the last half of my life giving it all away. Isn't that extraordinary? Wouldn't you call that an extraordinary life? And the answer is yes. He got so excited by that goal that the first half of his life, he earned $400 million, which back then was a lot of money. I mean, now, right, it doesn't seem to be that much, but, maybe back then it would total $40 billion, like Bill Gates. So $40 billion he earned the first half of his life. Guess what he did with the last half of his life? He gave it all away. And the big question is, why do that? And the answer is, why not? If you've got the opportunity to live, design and live an extraordinary life, why not do that? So here's what I want this weekend to be for you. Plenty of ideas to take home, chew on, digest, throw some away, refine some, accept some, do some, whatever. That's what this weekend is really for. To send you home with a whole new library of thoughts to ponder, ideas to try, disciplines to work out, some skills to learn. And if we do that and do it well this weekend, you will say, hey, it was certainly worth the time and the money to go to that weekend Jim Rohn seminar, Jim Rohn and Friends. Now make these notes. What I hope you find here this weekend: ideas plus inspiration. That's the mixture that really turns things on, sends an entrepreneur program into high gear. Ideas plus inspiration. We need ideas for the goals and plans, and we need inspiration for the emotional vitality to put it to work, to make it grow, make it multiply. And here's what else I hope you'll find here: guidelines for translating response into results. You've responded to the call. Come, search, look, listen, take notes, get it, to take home with you. And I'm sure you're going to respond well to the, seasoned teaching and training that is going to be delivered here this weekend. But here's the key: guidelines for translating response into results. Because results is the name of the game. There's no purpose in learning just for learning's sake. Wisdom and faith, as powerful as those components are, serve no useful purpose unless they are deposited. So make a note of the word, deposited. Wisdom and faith deposited into activity. Wisdom and faith put to work now produces a hotel, produces a Salk vaccine, produces a city, produces an institution of learning, produces a career, produces a relationship. right? Ideas and faith, believing that it's possible, that ideas can work miracles, now put to work. So the big job here is getting it all. And so now make the next note. Next is going home and translating it into high activity. Good health activity, a better relationship activity, an entrepreneur program activity, a new burst of speed in your sales career, all of that. That's what I'm really interested in. Because here's what's important to me, is for my name once in a while to appear in someone's testimonial. Make that note. It's one of life's greatest experiences, is when your name appears in somebody's testimonial. Somebody says, here's the person who found me. Here's the person who got me started. Here's the person who wouldn't let me quit. Gave me more reasons for staying than for leaving. Here's the person who believed in me until I could believe in myself. And then they mention your name. See, you can't buy that with money. And you don't have to give lectures and seminars to do it. You don't have to have an audience like this for the weekend in order to deliver value to someone's life. What if you had breakfast with a friend at Denny's 4 years ago, and you recommended this book that really meant a lot to you, and you said to your friend, you've got to read this book. I think it'll make a major contribution to your life. And your friend accepted the idea, went and got the book. Now, 4 years later, he's giving his testimonial. His business has flourished, his marriage is safe, things are going extremely well, and someone says, where did this all begin for you? And he will say, 4 years ago at Denny's coffee shop. I sat with my friend, and he insisted that I read this book. I went and got it. And that book led to the next book, that led to the next class, that led to developing skills I never had before, and that led to some more seminars and lectures, and now look at my business, look at my life, it's flourishing. But it all began 4 years ago, Denny's coffee shop, when someone said, you've got to read this book. See, that's a person-to-person seminar, and those are just as valuable as person to 1,000. Person to 10,000, right? It doesn't matter the number. If you have a chance to deliver, quote a poem, recommend a book, here's a phrase, like I gave you this one to memorize. I think you'll remember this one maybe for a long, long time. Just something that's really extra meaningful to someone, whether it's at breakfast or wherever it is, whether it's for a child or whether it's for an adult, a friend, a business associate. If you'll keep up that process, I promise you, your name will continually appear in people's testimonials. And now I've had this happy experience now for the last 40, 45 years. And so that's one of the reasons why I came here this weekend, right? I don't need the money. I've long ago made my fortune. I take the money, but I don't need the money. But here's what I do need. Continuing testimonials that say, Mr. Rohn, on a summer day, in Anaheim, California, at the Marriott. I was there that weekend, and something clicked, and the lights went on, and I got the gift of some good ideas. Here's what's happened to me. Then they mention my name. See, that's what I want. Continuing testimonials that come back to me saying thanks for sharing ideas. Okay. To get the most out of this weekend, jot these notes down now. Number one, be thankful for what you already have. Thanksgiving sets up, the situation where ideas can flow. Here's what locks up the doors of opportunity for good ideas, and that's cynicism. All you have to be is a practiced cynic. Cynical about the government, and cynical about politics, and cynical about the future, and cynical about the economy. Cynicism locks all the doors. But if you'll be thankful for what you have, however modest or however much it is, I think that's the beginning of receiving a flow of new ideas. Here's the next one. Be eager to learn. There's already some extraordinary success stories in this room. If we knew how successful, we would give you the podium. I would be happy to take notes. No matter how successful you are, be willing to learn some more. We in the Millionaires Club invite a billionaire once in a while to come talk to us. And he says, well, you guys are doing okay, but, you know, how about stepping up, right? How about multiplying by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10? Come on, you've just gotten started. So no matter how well you're doing, we could all use another idea, a couple of other things that linked together with what you already know could give you a whole new burst of productivity and extraordinary lifestyle. Then to get the most out of this session this weekend, you have to do what we call some tough listening. And sometimes it's difficult to gather up everyone's, attention, because our lives really seem to be going on outside this room. A part of our life is going on here while we're here. But some of us, our kids are out there, and our business is out there, and our career is out there, and our job is out there, and everything is out there. So sometimes it's difficult to bring yourself within the framework, inside these 4 walls, and just really concentrate and do your best to get it all. Because I know how meaningful ideas can be. The name Earl Shope, still rings in my mind. I'm 25 years old. After the Girl Scout story experience, I'm introduced to a man who I had a chance to go to work for, and over the next 5 years, the ideas he shared with me not only made me rich, but gave me the foundation for a long-term career of sharing ideas, building business, making profits, hopefully wise investments, made an extraordinary contribution to my life. This unique man, he only went to the 9th grade in school. So the things he shared with me over that 5-year period were very simple, very ABC. But that's where I got all of those simple phrases. Let me just review some of them for you very quickly. For things to change for you, you have to change. I kept hoping the government would change, and taxes would change, and prices would come down, and things would get better. And then he said, for things to change for you, Mr. Rohn, you have to change. Wow, what a new revelation. Next, he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. All of this started me on this unique journey of what I now call personal development. Here's another one. This is, don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. It's not less problems that makes you successful, it's more skills that makes you successful. I tried to convince him by showing him my paycheck that I wasn't doing well, and I blamed it on the company. And I said, this is all the company pays. He said, no, that's all the company pays you. I thought, well, that's a new way to look at it. He says, doesn't the company pay some people 3, 4, 5 times this amount? And I said, well, yes. He says, well, then this is not all the company pays. This is all you get until you requalify, accelerate your qualification for the bigger numbers. See, that was all great revelation to me. I tried to convince him that things cost too much. He said, no, you can't afford them. All of these were new ways of looking at things. Unbelievable. And so I started listening to all this stuff. Now, some of the things that really accelerated my learning curve so that I could do better quickly was learning the success equations. Here's 3 of them. The first one comes from the Bible. The question was asked, 2,000 years ago in the Bible, according to the storyteller, what is the key to greatness? What's the key to self-esteem? What is the key to getting honors and trophies to put on the mantle above the fireplace? What is the key to receiving great respect? What is the key to wealth and abundance? What is the key to all of that? An extraordinary life. And here's the answer that was given. Capsule form, according to the storyteller, the answer was, find a way to serve many people. Find a way to serve. Find the ways and means. Start rendering service. The more you serve, the greater your fortune. Service to many leads to greatness. Key. Next, John Kennedy. Speaking of politics today, we're surrounded by political speeches. Here was one of the best, John Kennedy, on his inaugural to be President of the United States all those years ago. Here's what he said: "Don't ask." Wow, don't we wish that was the current political philosophy? Where is John Kennedy? Where is he? John said, "Don't ask what the country can do for you. Ignore these promises of what everyone's saying what the country can do for you." He said, "Don't ask what the country can do for you, but ask what? What could I do for my country?" See, that's the whole turnaround in philosophical thinking. By asking, you receive so little. By serving, you receive so much. So rather than settle for the pennies of what someone could do for you, why not turn it around and find some way to serve? It's a pretty simple process. Here's what I taught the Russians. Johnny mows Mrs. Brown's lawn. She pays $3. Every time he mows her lawn, he collects $3. Thinking in terms of what could I do for my country? Surely Mrs. Brown is one of the members of the country. So he mows her lawn and collects $3 and starts what we call an income and a career. Now what's next? And here's what the Russians were excited about. What if Johnny gets Pete to mow Mrs. Brown's lawn? She still pays the $3, but now Johnny gives Pete $2 for mowing the lawn and keeps $1 because he's the one that got the work. Now we have the beginning of an entrepreneur. Now we have the beginning of fortune. Here's a good note to make. I started part-time on a little adventure learning skills and disciplines, and here's what I began to say with my little part-time job. I said, I'm working full-time on my job and I'm working part-time on my fortune. And the reason is because I found the mechanics. I found the philosophy. I started working it, serving other people. One way to serve is to mow Mrs. Brown's lawn and get the $3. The other way to serve is to get someone else to do it and you collect that extra money. Finding ways to serve. That's the key to wealth and greatness. Then here's the next one, and everybody knows this one. I heard Zig say it over 40 years ago, Zig Ziglar. And when he said it, I wrote it down, and if you haven't ever written it down, write it down. If you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything you want. If you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything you want. When I heard Zig say that, I wrote it down, and maybe you want to do this. Underline the word everything. That's what was intriguing to me about this sentence. So these are the success equations. This is the wealth formula from the Bible, from John Kennedy, from Zig Ziglar. Now, make these notes. In the journey of personal development, one of the first things to learn is the lesson of the seasons. Let me cover as much of this as I can before we take our first break for the day. The lesson of the seasons. For your notes, life and business is like the changing seasons. One of the best ways to illustrate what's happening in your business, what's happening in your life, is this illustration of the changing seasons. Frank Sinatra used to sing, life is like the seasons. Now here's what's next. You cannot change the seasons. One of the things to, come to grips with is what you can change and what you cannot change. You cannot change the seasons, but here's the next phrase, but you can change yourself. Therein lies the chance to live an extraordinary life. Learning to change yourself. In an economic sense, my mentor put it this way: to climb the ladder of success as high as you wish to climb, here's the key: work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said if you work hard on your job, you can make a living, which is fine. But if you work hard on yourself, you could make a fortune, which is super fine. Then let's put it in philosophical language. Two things on economics philosophically. Here's the first one I learned. Your income is primarily determined by your philosophy. You know, I didn't learn that until I was 25 years old. They never taught it in high school. I went to college one year and never heard it. Your income is primarily determined by your philosophy, not the economy. Then when I finally understood that, I got excited about it, because I knew I couldn't change the economy, but I was assured that I certainly could change my philosophy. And I did that. And here's the philosophy. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. Success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract. So the key to the better economic future is to become an attractive person with an attractive personality, an attractive list of skills, your knowledge of the marketplace, your ability to deal with a variety of personalities, all of those things that anyone can learn with a bit of study, practice, repetition. So the key is, you cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. But let's talk about the seasons, just in a brief outline here. Number one is the winter time. I don't know where we've caught you this weekend. Maybe it's spring for you, maybe it's summer, you're toughing it out, maybe it's harvest, you're cashing it in. If we knew the story, we'd let you lecture. But maybe for some of you, it's one of those winter times. Personal winters, social winters, economic winters. There's a variety. So what about the winter? Make this note, it always comes. So you got to be prepared. Hopefully you've done your homework. You're ready and prepared for this winter more than you were some others that have come into your life where you were less prepared. Make this note of a Bible story. It's very important because it's one of the great lessons of life. I'm an amateur on the Bible, but here's what the storyteller says. There were two nice people. So make the note now, two nice people. Not one good and one evil, but two nice people. However, and that is the drama of life. However, two nice people. However, one built his house on the rock, and the other built his house on the sand. Two nice people. Meaning it's possible for nice people to be casual. It's possible for nice people to be careless. And sometimes you can be careless and lose your life. Not evil, just careless. In Los Angeles now, when the light turns green, if you're in your car and you're there at the intersection and the light turns green, you better not go. For 2 or 3 seconds, waiting for the maniacs that are running the red light, crossing in front of you, even though the light is green. That little extra bit of caution, rather than being aggressive, little bit of caution could very well save your life. Here's a father who loves his family. He's an honorable citizen. He makes good money. He contributes to the community, his church. He's a good man. But this morning he's in a hurry in Los Angeles, late for an appointment, and he's pushing it with his automobile. He comes to the intersection and the light turns red, and a little voice in his head says, "Go ahead, you're late. You can make it." And now he's dead. You don't have to go to Iraq to lose your life. You don't have to be evil to lose your life. All you have to be is a little careless at an unfortunate moment. So the key is to be not overcautious, but to be cautious. Don't build your house on the sand. Now add this note now. We're all tempted. When I was growing up, there was a cartoon of a little boy. And it showed this little boy with a little devil on one shoulder and a little angel on the other shoulder, both whispering in his ear. And the little devil said, "Go ahead and do it. It'll be okay." And the little angel says, "No, no, no. No, no, no. It won't be okay." "Yes, go ahead and do it." "No, no, no." How often does that occur for all of us? Every day. Go through the red light. It'll be okay. We must beware, okay? Not to be careless, not to be casual, and build your house on the sand. The same is true with your health. Don't build on the sand. The same is true with your career. Don't build on the sand. The same is true of being in business. Don't build on the sand. Build on the rock. Because even nice people can make careless decisions, casual decisions that accumulate over a period of time. And those could be the winter. Now, here's the note to make. Some winters are of your own making, and some are not. Some are just the winter experiences. Maybe the whole country goes through it. It was a long time of winter for the Russians who lived through the communist system for about 80 years. Long winter of political despair, lack of freedom. But what's the key to the winter? Here it is in simple language. Hang in there. I mean, you know, winters don't last forever. Some are difficult and some are easy, but they never last forever. The night always comes after the day, but it doesn't last forever, just a few more hours. And if you hang in there, say your prayers, gather a little strength, you can make it through the winter and the night. So winter time. Here's the next season now, the season of spring. Make this note. My definition of spring: opportunity. Spring is not a guarantee that you're going to have a harvest, but it's an opportunity to plant one. It's not a guarantee that things are going to go well and you will accumulate what you need, but it is an opportunity to do so. Springtime is opportunity. Now, it's usually a very short season, especially where I was raised in farm country, Idaho. So here's what you must do with opportunity. Seize it quickly. Don't let it just come and go. When the window of opportunity is open, to borrow a little space language. When they get ready to shoot the rockets or off into outer space, there's a window, they call it, of opportunity to go, not go, when the weather's right and whatever. But if you wait a little too long, the window closes, and it takes a while for it to open back up. So this is the key. Take advantage of the spring, such a short season. In some places, they got those big tractors with the lights on them going around the clock in the short season of spring to make sure that the seeds are planted. Take advantage of opportunity. Take advantage of opportunity to meet someone who could be a colleague for your future career. Take advantage of the day when it arrives, because the day will soon finish. Take advantage of the year, because it will soon close. Take advantage. Now here's the next season. One of the greatest illustrations of life is in the third season, called the season of summer. And here it is in simple capsule form. In the summer, you must do two major things. Here they are for your notes. Number one, nourish and give life like a mother. Nourish and give life like a mother. Next, protect and defend like a father. This is called the work of summer. Give life like a mother. Take life like a father. Love like a mother. Hate like a father. Any father would say to whatever threatens his family, take 2 more steps toward this family, you'll cease to exist. I'm father. I protect, I kill if necessary. So you've got to nourish your garden, and then you've got to protect it by fighting the weeds and the bugs that are out to destroy it. As soon as you've planted, the busy bugs and the noxious weeds are out to take it. Now put this line in your notes, and they will take it unless you are extremely father-like and vigorous. You have to develop a hatred for evil. The old prophet said, love good and hate evil, because those twin forces are at work always. Even in the beginning of the beginnings, Lucifer, according to the storyteller, tried to take over God's throne, didn't succeed, and so began the story of the creator and the spoiler. And so exists for all of us this great drama of the ability to create, but the destroyer not too far away. In another seminar I give, here's what I say, and this is good philosophy. It seems like opposites are in conflict and we are in the middle. Evil on one side, good on the other side. Illness on one side, good health on the other side. Darkness on one side, light on the other side. And they're in conflict. If you walk into a room that's dark and turn on the light, the darkness disappears and goes away. How far away does it go? Not very far. Waiting for a chance, what? To come back in. Move in, take over the territory. As light begins to lose its energy, darkness moves in. There's a war on. Here's what it's called. Push-shove. As we sit here, right? Good health plan is trying to defeat illness and drive it into a small corner. If you don't work on your good health plan, illness will drive your health into a small corner. It's called push and shove. In your bloodstream, there are red corpuscles to nourish like a mother and white corpuscles to fight and kill like a father. Thank God for white corpuscles that think negative all day. White corpuscles say, just show me some infection, I'll kill it. Because if I don't kill it, what? It kills you. White corpuscles say, it's my job today to make sure you don't get killed. So I'm here to fight. Have you got that now? Red to nourish, white to fight. So here's the key now. Cooperate with the positive side of this war of health and illness. What if in this struggle the body calls for a banana and you send it a Coca-Cola? And now the body has the right to say what? Whose side are you on? I'm working day and night to drive illness into a small corner and keep you healthy, and you keep sending me the wrong stuff. Come on, just a little cooperation here, and we can win this game. But see, if you don't do your push-ups, and what was that little voice in my hotel room this morning that said to me, Jim Rohn, you don't have to do your exercises this morning. You're running a little late. And this little creature on this shoulder almost talked me into it. And the little angel says what? No, 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 no. Fall on the floor one more time. Do those push-ups, a few crunches, a little modified version, yes, because you are late, but you got to keep up the pace. See, that's called what? The work of summer. Now turn this around, because it's also possible to love like a father and hate like a mother, just so you get the job done. And if it's a single parent, right, you got to do both the work of father and mother. It's extraordinary. But mother is capable of hate and defense and protect. Because I think years ago, Papa was off providing, Mama was home protecting. So she developed these instincts of danger in order to protect her family. Women are good. Women are unusual. They have this antenna that picks up all the stuff, especially danger. In the middle of the night, the baby cries. Mama's awake. Papa sleeps. Mothers sleep near the surface, and the least little movement or sound, they're awake. It's built in, the female mother, that instinct. She says to her husband, go look, something isn't right, downstairs. He says, no, everything's fine. She says, go look. He says, okay. He gets up in the middle of the night, stumbles downstairs, and the front door is open. How did she know? They just know. I don't know how they know. They've got this instinct, especially for danger. Interesting story in the Bible. It says there are sheep and there are shepherds and there are wolves. Fairly ordinary story. Shepherds and wolves and sheep. But that's not the end of the story. To illustrate a point, the storyteller says, there are also some wolves that have learned to dress up like sheep. Now you need a woman. Man says, looks like a sheep, talks like a sheep. Woman says, ain't no sheep. Okay. Have you got this now? The work of summer. Here's what it's called, high drama. Nourishing and protecting. Nourishing with one hand and protecting with the other hand. Even the battle of the mind. Here's a good note to make on the battle of the mind. Don't become a victim of yourself in this battle of the mind. Should I, shouldn't I? Let it go. No, don't let it go. Run the red light. No, be a little more cautious. Think of your family. See, we have to continually do this. Beware of the thief on the street that's after your purse. But also beware of the thief in your mind that's after your promise. That little thief that says you're too short, you're too tall, you're too old, you've never done it before. What makes you think you can do it now? Nobody in your family has ever done it. In fact, if you start, they'll all make fun of you. It's called the thief in the mind that steals the dream and steals the promise, makes you less effective than you should be. Here's what you must do. Battle with the mind. Now, what's the purpose of all of this opposites in conflict? Here's what I think it is, to create high drama. God wishing it to continue on earth as it did in heaven. I guess that's the best conclusion I've come to. Because here's the last of this now. Would it be possible to win if you couldn't lose? And the answer is no, it doesn't seem like it. If you took a football today and put it under your arm and we went with you to the nearest football stadium, and with that football under your arm, if you walked across the goal line, would we call it a touchdown? And the answer is no, that's not a touchdown. It's not a touchdown until you face the 350-pounders that want to smash your face in the turf. And if you can muscle by them, and if you can dance past the secondary with the football under your arm, cross the goal line, now we call it a touchdown. And maybe you won the game, and maybe you won the championship. So jot this down now. High drama is the order of the day. I guess so ordered by God himself. High drama. But that's what makes life so unique, so challenging, so much opportunity. A chance for fortune and a chance for failure. And you've got to defend yourself against one, see if you can't maximize the other. That's the game of life. Isn't this good stuff? I mean, these few simple ideas started changing my life. Age 25, I was never the same. What if you picked up a book? And the book, first chapter said, everything's fine. Chapter 2, everything's fine. Chapter 3, everything is just fine. Chapter 4, everything is still just fine. Would you finish this book? And the answer was no. What kind of a book is this? So the book book on your life story, it's not going to be this. It's going to be filled with the full dramas of the highs and the lows and the winter and the spring and the summer and the harvest. So have you got that now? The third season, do the work of summer. Be both optimistic and vigilant. Two great words of antiquity, here they are. Number one is behold. That's the word from antiquity. The positive word is behold. Here's the other word, beware. One of the interesting bewares in the Bible is a little story that says, beware of the little foxes that are spoiling the vines. It doesn't look like it. You know, I come from, farm country, Idaho, where I make a little wine and grow a few crops. And you can look at a vineyard, hey, it looks okay. But this old story says, just because the vineyard looks okay, you got to look a little closer. The little foxes may be eating the vines. So whether it's a personal relationship or a business opportunity or your future or your life or the management of your time or your health or whatever, I'm asking you to behold the possibilities and beware the dangers. That's the key. And all of that we call personal development. Now here's the fourth season. And I've got a lot more notes for you to cover. How many of you have one page of notes already? Okay, wonderful. I want to send you home with a whole basket full. From myself, Brian, this is going to be one of those extraordinary weekends. Dennis is here, other speakers are here. You're going to have a full load to take home. Okay, here's the next season now, the season of harvest. Make this note now on harvest. In due time, and for those who qualify, in due time, and for those who have obeyed this extraordinary law that says life was not designed to give you what you need. Life was designed to give you what you deserve. If you didn't plant in the spring, then no harvest comes your way. If you planted little, then you're not going to receive a lot. And here's the key now for the harvest. Number one, whatever it is, offer no complaint and no apology. If it's a fantastic harvest, you offer no apology. If it's not much, you offer no complaint. That's the highest of maturity. No apology, no complaint. But here's what you can do no matter what it is. Go back to work in the spring. Because, write this down now, spring always follows winter. If the harvest wasn't good and the winter was tough, the promise is another opportunity will come your way. Now, here's one more point now on the harvest, and we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. Here it is. Do wise things with your harvest. Build your financial security for you and your family on the rock and not on the sand. We're going to talk about financial independence before we finish this weekend. There's so many things now you can do about gathering resources and wisely investing them so that you and your family are secure. Here's one thing to strive to become early in your life and career: financially independent, so that nobody or nothing has a claim on your assets. Accomplish that as quickly as you can. Then all of the other wise things we'll talk more about. Sarah Alfaro in Mexico came to my seminars and lectures 10 years ago. Single mother, 4 children, no job, no home, no car, no money. And she only had $1 American to invest. Now she makes about $40,000 a month, and she's rich and now quite famous. Sarah Alfaro in Mexico. Here's what I taught Sarah back there 10 years ago. Don't buy the second car until you've bought the second house. It's not cars that makes you rich. It's houses that make you rich. If you bought a condo in Carmel just a few years ago for $250,000, it's now worth $800,000. I got a call the other day from Sarah, thanking me one more time for my training. And she said, Mr. Rohn, you'll be happy to know, I just finished paying off my 3rd home here in Mexico, so today I'm going shopping for my third car. Isn't that good? Unbelievable. Remember, how long ago was it when the idea finally dawned on somebody, if you paid one extra payment a year on your 30-year loan, you could pay it off in 15 years and save more than the price of the house. Wow. Just a little bit of information and then a little discipline to see it through, and the change for your harvest can be unbelievable. We'll talk more about that later on in the program. Now, jot these notes down. Personal development involves three parts. First part is physical, take care of yourself. My mama studied and practiced health and nutrition when I was a boy growing up, paid off. Extended my mother's life at least 20 years, according to the doctor. Mama was a fanatic. Mama was a health nut. Some of the stuff she mixed up for me and my father and for herself, she would say, if this stuff don't kill us, I think it's going to help. And we would gag this stuff down. Mama read, Mama searched, Mama tried. Back when, vitamins and all that stuff was fairly new when I was a kid growing up. Mama did all that research. My father lived to be 93, never had a major illness. Mama extended her life 20 years. My father never did retire. When he died, his paycheck was waiting for him. Thanks to my mother. And I've been in splendid, excellent, good health all my life. And come September, I'll be celebrating birthday number 74. Right? Thanks to Mama. If there's one thing to be a fanatic about, it's your health. Take care of yourself. The Bible describes it this way. Treat your body like a temple. That's a good word. Treat your body like a temple, not a woodshed. A temple. Something you'd take extremely good care of. Here's one of the reasons why. The body and the mind work together. The body is a physical support system so that the mind can dream the dreams and the heart can believe that it's possible and then go to work and make it happen. And for that, you need a good physical support system to manage all of that. One old prophet said, sometimes, the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. See, don't fall into that. You wake up in the morning and the mind says, let's go get them. The body says, I can't even get out of bed. See, one of these days you've got to say, body, this is the last time you tell me you can't get out of bed. I'll throw you on the floor and make you do push-ups until you're out of breath. I'll make you read every book that's ever been written on good health. I'll choke vitamins down you until your face turns blue. This is the last time you say you're not going to vigorously support me to make my dreams come true. You just got to take action now on this stuff here of the physical support system you need to pull off your dreams and your promise and your future. Make this note. Some people don't do well just because they don't feel well. It's not that they haven't got the skills. It's not that they don't have all the rest. They don't have the vitality, the vigor, the vitality. Okay. I travel all around the world. If you saw my travel schedule, work schedule, you would say impossible. I'm probably the only one who can do it. Thanks to Mama and my own study and practice of health and nutrition. See, that's the key. I've got this unique physical support system, and it's going to serve me, another, who knows, 60 years. Now here's the next one. First is physical, second is spiritual. And whatever you believe about spiritual, I happen to believe humans are a unique creation. Spiritual is part of it. But jot this down now. If you are a believer, jot down these three words. Study, practice, and teach your belief in spirituality. Don't leave your spiritual conclusions unresearched, unstudied, and don't leave it unpracticed. And whatever you do, don't leave it untaught. Study, practice, and teach. If we all do that, starting with our family, we'll build the families necessary to build a strong nation to compete among the nations of the world in these years of the 21st century. Now here's the next one. The physical, the spiritual, now the mental. Your mind, exercises of the mind. Build your library, I say in one of my other seminars. The books that can see you through. The books that can give you the ideas necessary to build a good career, to build a strong enterprise, relationships, good health, and all the rest. The book you don't read won't help. Now here's part of the exercise of the mind, a good debate. Right? We're engaged now in the great political debate, with the election coming up in just a few months. This is what we call healthy. We don't believe in the one-party system. Communism said one party. Everybody do what we say. We say no, more than one party, so we can discuss ideas. Here's the way to make an idea powerful, is to discuss it and refine it so that it fits your situation. That's what I ask you to do when this seminar is finished. Debate all of these ideas. Discard some that don't make sense. Give considerations to some that do make sense. Put some on the shelf for later consideration. And then put some of them into action that make sense. Jot this down. Make sure what you do is the product of your own conclusion. Do that thoughtful study. One book on health and nutrition says, do this, you'll live forever. The second book says, if you do what that first book says, you'll die young. So what should you do? Which book should you follow? And this is one of the important answers of the weekend. Neither one. Read both books and make up your own mind. You engage in the debate. What makes sense? What seems to be or not to be? Because as close as we can get to the truth is to say, it seems like. That's as close as all of us can get. We can't say it is. None of us can do that. We can say it seems like. Opposites are in conflict and we're in the middle. It's what it seems like. Our experience proves, and the storyteller says it started early. That's what it seems like. God is interested in high drama. That's about the best we can conclude. We can't actually state the truth, except what it seems like. But engage in thoughtful study and vigorous debate. Sometimes you can debate with others, right? And share ideas. What did Jim Rohn mean by this? Well, I'm not sure that's important to our life. Someone else says, no, I think it is. Engage in this debate. Then here's the big one, the debate in your own mind. What's good, what isn't good. Finally, you must come to your own conclusions. Read the best you can, study the best you can, take the best notes you can, and then do this. Then you decide, out of all of that, which is valuable enough to try, valuable enough to do, and add to the dimensions of your life that are already underway. That's the key for study, exercising the mind. Here's the last part. Don't be afraid of the debate. Communism taught. Some people say, well, don't tell people what communism taught. Why not? That's part of the debate. Communism says capital belongs to the state, not the people. We taught all these years, no, capital belongs to the people, not the state. What a good debate. How about the example of capital in the hands of the state? Well, read the history of the communist empire that dominated Russia for all those 75, 85 years. If that's what you want, that philosophy, to get that result, and we say no. That's terrible. That's terror. That's tyranny. How about capitalism? Makes a country like America flourish. Gives an opportunity where everybody wants to come and try it. Engage in the great debate, whether it's your health or relationships or your future. Don't be afraid of the debate. The Bible serves as a good book, giving you stories on both sides of the ledger. Here's the story of someone to admire. Here's the story of someone to despise. You need both stories to help you with this debate. Okay. Now here's what's next. Develop these 5 abilities in your personal development quest. To be the best you can be, produce all you can, far more than you need for yourself and for your family. If that's your philosophy and if that's what you want to do, something extraordinary, it's possible to live an extraordinary life. Here's the challenge, and it's going to be working here this weekend. Number 1, develop the ability to absorb, the ability to get everything. I don't know what all you've planned here, but you know, be in every class you possibly can. Just Stay as long as you can. We're going to take enough breaks, I think, to make it easy for everybody. We all recognize the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure. I want you to know we are mindful of that. But the key is not to be careless in the gathering of knowledge, not to be casual in the ideas that could double your health, triple your income, accelerate your career, secure your fortune, amplify your harvest. So don't be careless in the gathering of ideas. Absorb every one you possibly can. Here's the next ability. Develop the ability to respond. Let life touch you. Let the stories touch you. Let the drama touch you. 12 months ago, I was in India. I lectured in 4 major cities in India. That was like my 4th visit to India. Once again, I was touched by the drama of such extremes of poverty and wealth. If I was given the assignment, Mr. Rohn, see what you can do with India, I would say, what could I do? What could I do? Where would you start? Let the drama of that affect you. Make you more sober in your reflections about life. And then say a prayer that what you couldn't do by yourself, maybe a collection of people can do. Maybe the future will find some answers. A prayer would help. Let life touch you, but don't let it kill you. Let sad things make you sad. Let happy things make you happy. Don't shrug off always those times of bitterness that come and sadness that comes, and your heart is struck like a bullet, hits it. I'm not saying give in to it. I'm saying let it affect you, because that's part of the drama. The old prophet said what? There's a time to laugh and there's a time to cry. And then it said, be so sophisticated that you learn to laugh with those that laugh and also learn to cry with those that cry. Allow yourself to be touched, moved by the drama. Be touched by good ideas. Be touched by opportunity. Be touched by someone's unique little sentence that might cause you to open your eyes to see things you never saw before. Here's the next ability. Develop the ability to reflect. Part of this is in the challenge when you go home, not to just put these notes away, but to get them out maybe fairly often over the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, just to review the notes, to drive the ideas a little deeper, to come up with a little more refinement. And if you go back over these notes, I promise you, there is something you will discover that you just didn't have the time to discover while you were taking the notes. Because in taking the notes, you're working as hard as I am. Right? Taking the notes, trying to listen, trying to decide what to write down, how to compose it in a small sentence if I've, said a long sentence, how to edit it as you go. That's why review is so important. Go back over it again. Go back over it again. Here's what I call it. Run the tapes again. The tape in your mind and the tape from your notes, and see if you can't capture something you might have missed. Or to develop an extension of something you got now that by going back over it now you can see, now I see. Here's what I could do with that might multiply the value of my life by 2, by 3, by 5. Here's a good time to reflect when the day is over. How did it go, and who did you see, and what did you say, and what mistakes did you make, and what did you leave out that you could correct tomorrow? Reflect at the end of the month. 30 days, that's when you usually do the accounting for your business and the company and the corporation. Do the accounting for your health. If you needed to lose weight, how many pounds have you lost? Just do a good reflective accounting. I'm trying to do a little study now on the value of the 7th day. Here's another thought to consider on the value of the 7th day. It says labor the 6th, and the 7th is a special day. Rest, relax, spiritual, church, family, friendships. So jot this down for the 7th day. Multi-purpose 7th day after 6 days of work. Multi-purpose. And here's one of the purposes of the 7th day, I think, is to review the previous 6 days. How did it go? Where did you stumble? What did you miss? What should you have thought of that you let pass? Who didn't you see? Just review the last 6 days. What went right, what went wrong, what's there, what's missing. Then here's what you do. Now plan the next 6 days. With this information of the last 6, plan the next 6. I call it multi-purpose 7th day. Reflect, go back over, then design, plan, refine, and deposit the experience of the past 6 days into the adventure and activity of the next 6 days. You will be absolutely surprised at the value and the productivity of your weeks if you'll start doing a little more of that. Now, here's the last 2. Develop now the ability to act. Activity now is the catalyst and the miracle piece of the process. Here's a little subject called How to Turn Nothing into Something. Number 1, first, imagine the possibilities. Imagination is the first step of the miracle of possibilities. Reality first starts with imagination. Now, it's hard to call imagination nothing, but it's not something in terms of a podium. It's not tangible. So it's hard to say how to turn nothing into something, because nothing is, there isn't anything that's nothing. Everything is something, even if it's the imagination, it's something. Einstein once said, there's nothing faster than the speed of light. And Bill Bailey, one of my mentors, current mentors and longtime friend, said, maybe here's something faster than the speed of light, and that's thought. It's possible that thought could be faster than the speed of light. How fast can you think back and think ahead? I guess we can't say the exact same instant, but all we can say is it seems like the exact same instant. You know, if you don't know the truth, you can't say that's true. And if you're not a scientist, it'd be, you know, a little out of order to say, yes, this is true. But here's what it seems like. It's possible to think back and ahead at the same time. I mean, how fast is that? To think back and think ahead. But it's one of those marvelous capabilities that we all have, and in your personal development quest of getting stronger and more vital, both physically and spiritually and mentally, now use this exercise to think back and gather more experience. Think ahead how to apply it, so that the experience now multiplies in value by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10. That's key. Now, how to turn nothing into something. Number 1, imagine the possibilities. Today, if we had a chance to hear everybody's testimonial of how you got where you are, some of you went from nothing to something, some of you went from pennies to fortune, and if we had a chance to hear everybody's story here today, took the time, guess what those stories would conclude? Those stories would conclude the possibilities are absolutely endless and unlimited. So number 1, imagine the possibilities. Read an inspiring book one more time, how someone went from nothing to something. The story of a Sarah Alfaro who started with $1, now she's rich. Wow. The possibilities, they're unending. Now here's the next step. Imagine that some of the possibilities are possible for you. We call this now faith. Now we start with imagination, now we generate faith. What generates faith? Faith is generated sometimes when the testimonial closes like this. If I can do it, what? You could do it. I started behind. I started under the basement, not in the basement. I started with debt, not surplus. I didn't start with pennies. I had no pennies. Debt's up to here. Finally got it turned around. Now everything's flourishing. That's what we want to hear. And then someone in a testimonial like that says, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. Here's what that does. Reassures our faith. Keep reading, keep listening to the testimonials. One, that excite the imagination as to the possibilities. And number 2, helps faith to occur, that what's possible for one is possible for another. Now here's the third step of faith, or the third step in the miracle process: to deposit your imagination and faith into high activity. Disciplined activity. Not just activity, but skillful, disciplined. Take the classes to learn the skills. Get around people that will teach you the disciplines. And then deposit your imagining the possibilities and believing that it's possible for you. Deposit that now into what we call high activity. Make this note now. Activity finishes the miracle process of turning nothing into something. Activity finishes the miracle process. I'm positive that's why the formula was given of 6 days of working miracles and 1 day of rest, to ponder how it's going. How is my miracle working process working? Have I missed some? Devote 6 days to the working of miracles. The 7th day to rest and reflect and go back over, and a bit of study. Yes, spiritual, yes, church, yes, synagogue, yes, family, yes, social, yes, friends. But see if you can't now come up with a plan to increase your activity or refine your activity. Sharpen it so that it produces major results. Here's the next one. Take joy in the work. I couldn't wait to get here today to share my story one more time. I'm already pondering the testimonials that may come out of a class like this next year, a year from now, 5 years from now, if I happen to meet some of you and you say, on that summer weekend in Anaheim, I finally got it. The lights went on for me. Something you said and something someone else said finally made sense. And I hooked it together, and here's what's happened. That's going to be extraordinary. Right? That's why we're here, to do this work. I was excited this morning about being here. Couldn't wait to hear what I've got to say. A lady asked me one time, she said, Mr. Rohn, over the last few years I've been to your seminars now several times. Every time I see you, you're all excited. Things seem to be going great for you. How do you stay so excited all the time? And I said, I think it's because I attend all these seminars. Because make this note now, because it's very valuable. If you struggle to make something clear for someone else, it helps to make it more clear for you. If one person listens and one person speaks, there is the opportunity for transformation for both. The listener to be enlightened, to see something he never saw before, but the speaker to be better educated on how to present it by struggling with the language. Words are clumsy sometimes when you try to express what's going on in your head, let alone your heart and spirit. But the more you struggle to make it clear, the clearer it gets for you. So that both the listener could be transformed by what he hears, and the speaker could be transformed by the exercise of speaking, trying to make it clear. We're going to talk later about communication. It's almost a godlike quality, communicating, inspiring other people with your language. Now here's the last part, and I'm finished, and we're going to take then about a 10, 12-minute break, maybe 11 minutes. Here's the last one. Are you ready? Say, I'm ready. Ready. For the last one, develop the ability to share. Not just your money and your resources. One of the biggest things to share, of course, is your time, because you're limited on time. You can't get any more time. Big decision for me to make, to come spend this weekend with you instead of with my children and my grandchildren. Right? I'm already wealthy. I don't need the money. So why would I come? Because my children and my grandchildren know this is part of our collective experience. They enjoy the testimonials that come later as much as I do, the letters I get and the phone calls. and the response that people say, hey, your grandfather came and made an extraordinary contribution. See my children and my grandchildren thrive on that story. So they were willing for me, instead of being in Carmel, sitting on the sand at the ocean where my grandchildren live, I'm here in Anaheim, California, spending this time with you. But I gladly do it. Here's why. It's an investment time for me to share, so that later comes the harvest. One, the harvest is by working hard to make it clear for you, I'm getting as much as you are. But then later, hearing the testimonials. So I'm asking you to do the same in every format possible, whether you're asked to do training, whether you're asked to do teaching, whether you're asked to make a speech. Always say yes, to the best of your ability, so that you'll have one more time to share, one more time to help somebody lift themselves from poverty to success, from doubt to faith, from illness to health, from skepticism to belief. One more chance, person to person, or class to class, or a little Sunday morning class, or a little home meeting, or a personal conversation at Denny's coffee shop. Tell somebody something good, something valuable. The payoff for you is in the attempt and the learning experience. And then the payoff later is to get someone's testimonial that's got your name included. So I want to thank you for spending all this time this morning. Let us now look at your watch, and let's be back at 10:31. Okay, just do the necessary quickly and come right back, because we've got to get there.
Hi, my name's Jeff Roberti. I live down in Sarasota, Florida, and I've been in network marketing now for 20 years. I got introduced to Jim Rohn back then. He's one of my original mentors, and some of the things he shared with me just changed my life forever. I've been a big student. I've kept myself in that learning environment, learning and growing with the books and the tapes, and like this weekend being here at this live seminar, and being able to spend 2 or 3 days with Jim and some of the other speakers is wonderful. And it's changed my life. I was a broke waiter, and in the last 20 years I've been able to earn in excess of $50 million in the network marketing industry. So thank you, Jim, and thank you so many others.
My name is Orrin Hudson, founder and president of BeSomeone.org. Oh, it's like getting a blank check on the future. I've learned so much, and some of the principles that I've learned for the last 30 years that I've known Jim Rohn has really transformed my life. I can remember when I was in the housing project, I couldn't afford his book, so I went to the library and they ordered it from another library that they didn't have. And this 30 years ago, I'm living my dream because of some of the concepts that I learned from Jim Rohn. For my life to get better, I had to get better, that no one was coming to the rescue. And when I learned this principle, my whole life has changed, and I started doing the things I need to do to be successful. When I realized that it was only me that could save myself. I recommend anyone in the world to really visit Jim Rohn. I bought all of his product and to distribute them to my brothers and sisters. I think what he's doing is the best teachings on the planet.
My name is Cindy Goodwin, and I live in New Hampshire, and I educate others for a living. And I'm constantly learning from Jim, and his personal philosophy about taking care of yourself for others so others can take care of themselves for you is something that we talk about in my house and with my students, and it's great. I'm still learning every day. It's why I'm here.
Okay. My name is Frederick Talon. I'm coming from Belgium. The reason why I come here to watch Jim Rohn, because he's a great inspirer. We read many books of him. We love him. And I would like to have his knowledge to help other people reaching the maximum in their life, and also want to follow them in his steps into the future.
Hello, I'm Suzanne from Belgium. The reason that I come here is because we had a couple of trainings before of him. He already inspired me a lot. Our personal life has changed a lot. Also the financial dreams are coming true now in our life. We have more financial freedom. We help also a lot other people also improve their life in health, but also with financial freedom, and it's really changing a lot of people, and that's what we like about Jim Rohn, and that's what we want to give. That's the reason why we are here.
Hello, I'm Geert Wells, also from Belgium. Almost 1 year ago I started with the 1-year plan from Jim Rohn, and the first 3 months already was incredible what happened. Just unbelievable in 90 days. So when we get the possibility just to attend the event, for me the decision was quick made. I want to go to see everything live and see what happens afterwards. It's just incredible. I was working 1 year hard work and nothing changed, and then with 90 days, already just the first 90 days, I doubled my income in 90 days. I get a huge organization, a lot of people who like to work with me. I like to work with the other people. It's just incredible, only the start already.
My name is Michael Bennett. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm in direct sales, and I love Jim Rohn. When I first heard his tape about planting seeds, I listened to it like 15 times. And to see him in person is awesome because he's one of those people that speaks right to the soul of people, whether you're new in this business, you've been in this business a while. He's just an awesome guy. He's like a mentor that you can put in a CD or a tape. If you want to understand the cream of the crop and understand where it all comes down, come see Jim Rohn. Listen to Jim Rohn because he's the guy that taught most of the other people that inspire and motivate us.
Hi, my name is Charles Kelly. I'm from London. I've come here to see Jim Rohn. The reason I wanted to come here and actually see him is to see if he was better live than he is on tape. And I think so far he has been better live than on tape. This morning, I think I've got out of the situation this morning is he said, he keeps saying, why not? Why not go for it? Why not do something extraordinary with my life? And that's what I'm going to do. Thank you very much.
My name is James Blakemore, and I'm from Midland, Texas. About 8 years ago, I had the incredible opportunity to hear a gentleman speak. His name was James Rohn, and the 2-day seminar that I attended changed my life completely. I went from a person who was not even entitled to success to understanding why you become what you earn what you become, and you become successful by what you become. I continue to listen. I consume everything that Jim Rohn puts out. I attend every opportunity. At every opportunity I attend, every seminar, meeting, anytime I can get in front of the man, I do.
My name is Jeff Weisberg from Moore Park, California. I've been involved in my own business now for over 20 years. Had an opportunity many years ago to first hear from Jim Rohn, and I think it's very important that all the different growth that a person gets, they need to have continuous education. And Jim's amazing. At his age now, he's still running around the world helping and changing people's lives. And I think that for people that haven't had an opportunity to experience him, they need to. And for people that haven't had an opportunity to learn and develop and grow from his teachings and people that he's taught and mentored, it's definitely something you want to be part of.
Hello everyone, this is Jerry Clark of ClubRhino.net. We're sitting here at the Jim Rohn Leadership event in Anaheim, California. We have had a great time learning from some of the giants of the industry such as Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy, and the individual I have with me today, which is Dennis Waitley. And many of you know of Dennis Waitley because you've listened to several of his programs just like I did a number of years ago. As a matter of fact, in 1986 is when I picked up some of his first training materials that I actually started learning from. The Psychology of Winning, all-time best-selling classic. You have Seeds of Greatness, Being the Best, Empires of the Mind. I mean, I can go on and on with the programs that Dennis have come out with. And Dennis, he also, for 12 years, has been the Olympic coach, like the mental toughness, the mental training coach for the Olympic athletes. And so we are fortunate to have him here today. He's taking some time out to share some insights and so forth. So, Dennis, we want to welcome you here with us.
Thanks, Jerry. It's great to be with you.
Now, the first question, you're talking about mental toughness. This is really important because a lot of people listening and watching right now, they want to know how do they develop a mental toughness in life, in business life, as far as people who are entrepreneurial minded. They're out there doing things that are a little different than a regular population as far as, you know, they want to make things happen on their own. How do they develop that mental toughness that it's really going to take in order to make it?
I think one of the first things is to always be prepared for a surprise, and the surprise is likely to be a negative surprise every day. Something's going to happen in your day, whether you're going to be late behind a train, you're car's going to have a flat tire. Something's going to happen to you, and the ability to be able to take molehills and continue to make them molehills instead of mountains, to look at problems as being normal. Problems are a normal part of change, so because we're changing so rapidly, there are going to be a lot of problems you face. And to look at failure as an event. That's the important thing. Failure is not a person. I'm not a failure. I've had a failure. I've had a temporary inconvenience. I've had a stumbling block. And the idea is to turn a stumbling block into a stepping stone and step on it rather than stumble over it. So I always say, look at failure as the fertilizer of success.
Wow.
Fertilizer stinks. It smells, you know, I mean, you put it on your grass and say, wow, that guy's just fertilized his lawn. Sure, you fertilize your life with your mistakes. You don't wallow in them, you don't lay in them, you don't roll in them. You pick yourself up off your mistake and you learn from it and try not to repeat that same thing again. But you look at it as a temporary inconvenience. It's a detour. It's a detour in life is a failure.
So are these the same principles that the athletes, the Olympic athletes use when they, or maybe they're in practice or so forth, and they do a routine and it doesn't work out the way they really felt it should have worked out, or they're actually in the Olympic Games and they don't win that gold medal? Typically they don't just give up and say, oh, forget it. You know, typically they come back 4 years later and they go at it again, and they're doing years and years of practice just to get back to that point. So are you saying it's the same type of mindset that it takes to be a champion in athletics, that it takes to be a champion in business?
Absolutely. There's two times when you use it: before you perform and right after. So it's called simulation and then replay. Wow. And the replay after a failure is as important as the replay after a success. So the idea is, when you miss, you say, that's not like me, I'm better than that. That's not like me, come on, get with it. So you teach an athlete to slap his thigh and say, come on, that's not like you, let's get with it. Let's get going now. Come on, let's get back on it. Let's get back on the ball. And so I'm learning myself in my life. I say, come on, Dennis, that's not like you. You're a lot better than this. You're better than this, so let's get back to where we belong here. Let's remember what we've learned. Let's slow down, take a deep breath, focus, relax, concentrate, and follow through. Next time, we'll get it right. The important thing is to look at a failure as an event, a single performance that you must take and make lead back to the original goal. The problem is most people say, oh man, I blew it, oh gee, and they rest on that and they reinforce that mistake instead of taking it and correcting it to the target. So it's really important to do target correction.
So basically what you're saying is that it's just all these are mental strategies, mental tools that we can use as kind of like reforming our self-talk. Instead of saying the negative, disempowering type things, say the positive and empowering type things. And so in order for a person to get to a point where they're used to doing that, because initially it seems like they have to consciously think about, making sure that they say an empowering word or empowering phrase. So to get to that point, does it require, your regular reading books, going to seminars like the Jim Rohn leadership event we're at right now, listening to tapes and so forth? Does it require those type of things to even get to that point? Or can anyone who hasn't even done a lot of personal development just say, hey, I'm going to choose to have really good self-talk?
Well, it's pretty hard to go cold turkey on anything, mainly because you don't really stop a habit, you replace a habit. And if it's habitual, a habitual way of talking or feeling or explaining, I call it the positive explanatory style versus the negative explanatory style.
So I like to explain the explanatory styles.
Yeah. Well, I like to interview people, and I ask them how it's going. And I ask them, if it's, what kind of day is it for you? And if the weather enters into the picture, then I know that it's not mental, because the weather is an external factor. So if the externals in life are the things that determine whether you have a good day or not, you're being, if you will, you're a thermometer. A thermometer is a passive device that lays there and tells you how the world is doing on the outside. A thermostat is what you set on the temperature that you want. Then it controls the air conditioning and the heating. If you look at your body and brain as the hardware in your computer, and you look at the software as the things you put in your mind, you have a software program that drives the hardware. So the software is what you need to program. with the instructions to have the computer follow directions. And so you tell the computer what you want it to do, and the software program determines the outcome of what the computer does. Most people don't know how to program their software to get the outcomes they want.
And the sad thing is that most people's software has already been programmed by someone else.
No question.
And so now they're
Every
operating
day.
from that, right? Every day.
Yeah, it's being programmed by the evening news. It's being programmed by sitcoms, reality TV shows, commercials. They tell us what to eat. They tell us what to buy. They tell us how to dress. They tell us what to think. They tell us who to vote for. And we just listen, and we say, wait a minute, I'm too smart for that. I'm not going to pay any attention to that. Too late. Wow. Observation, imitation, repetition.
Right.
Habit, practice, secondhand smoke, secondhand violence, secondhand. It goes in and sticks. And even if we don't want to do it, we do it anyway. That's called the perception to buy. The advertising manipulates perception, so you buy what they want you. And the same thing is true with self-talk and controlled thinking. Makes you control your habits so that you do maybe what's good for you. And the question is, who's putting what into your mind? Is it junk food in your mind, or are you putting in some stuff that really makes your mind work well?
Wow. And so basically what you're talking about is that even if someone says, you know, I'm not really watching TV to watch the TV, I have it on. So, you know, they might be sleeping and they have the TV on. But what you're saying is if all that positive stuff going in, it's like if you put something, you got something in your throat and you have to cough, you got to get it out, right? Yeah. Okay, and then if you got to get it out, and if you keep it in, then what's going to happen is, you know, it's just going to stay in. It's still there. So are you saying that no matter what, it still comes in, even if you just have it like secondhand TV, so to speak?
Well, yeah, it's true. It does go in unless you're asleep. There's been a misnomer. In other words, you really don't learn while you sleep. So sleep learning, the Russians tried it, and the important thing about sleep is you need to dream. And you dream about every 30 to 40 minutes. You go down into a deep sleep, come back up and have a dream. So you have so many dreams per night. If you tried to learn stuff while you're asleep, it would interrupt your dreams, and you would be irritable, and you would actually be a little bit paranoid. So the best time to get inputs is when you're relaxed, not paying any attention to it. And that's where television and commercials and radio and all these things have the biggest impact on teenagers, because they're really not paying that much attention to it. What they say is, look, the lyrics don't mean anything to me. I like the beat.
Right.
I like the beat, but the lyrics, I don't pay any attention. Well, the truth is,
that's worse.
They don't have to pay attention because it's going in and sticking anyway.
So in order to reprogram ourselves, then, it's going to take just a constant, you know, injecting ourselves, so to speak, with, you know, like materials that you've come out with over the years. See The Greatest Psychology of Winning, which is one of the best-selling audio programs of Nightingale Conant of all times. Going to events like this, like the Jim Rohn event, going to your different trainings that you do, just constantly bombarding or saturating your mind. It's kind of like a reverse brainwashing, so to speak, because everyone tells me, they say, Jerry, you're just brainwashing people, you know, when they come to my seminars. You're brainwashing people and so forth. And I just say, hey, they've already been brainwashed.
No, it's the opposite.
You know,
it's called dehypnosis.
Dehypnosis.
It's dehypnotizing what they've already been hypnotized, because hypnosis means sleep. Hypno from sleep. So hypnosis is when you learn when you're relaxed and you repeat things, but you didn't remember that you learned them. So you dehypnotize people by helping them take in stuff that's good for them, rather than not recognize they're taking in stuff that's bad for them. So obviously you have to read a lot of books, listen to a lot of programs, listen to positive radio, watch the Discovery Channel, watch National Geographic, listen to great music, and go out to ethnic restaurants and watch people who are doing great things, and you know, really get involved with people who are trying to make a difference in the world. And the next thing you know, you say, wow, some of that stuff's rubbing off on me.
Now, what do you say to someone who's, you know, they're watching and they're listening right now, and they're saying, you know, one of the things is that I listen to tapes and I read the books and so forth, but when it comes to really taking action, sometimes I might start to take an action, and then I kind of like stop. So they're not able to be consistent with the action they know they should be taking, and so they end up procrastinating. What do you say to people like that?
Well, I say that's a little voice inside you that tells you you can't do it. It's the voice of fear. We all have that little voice inside of us. So what you say to them is, find someone who will keep you honest by making you accountable by having a buddy. And the buddy says, wait a minute, you and I said we were going to meet at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I showed and you didn't. Come on. You said you were going to be there. And when you announce to somebody else that you're going to do something, you kind of make a commitment back and forth to a friend. So it's really important maybe not to try to do it alone, because by ourselves, I'm a great procrastinator. I was going to go to the program, but I put it off. You know, I went to the memory program, but I forgot where I put the tape.
Now, what about happiness? That's one key thing that people ask me all the time. They say, you know, how do I become happy? You know, it's like a lot of people are chasing things in order to be happy. They think they have to get something in order to be happy. What's your take on happiness, and what is happiness, and where can people get it or find it for people that are chasing for it?
That's just it. You can't drive it, you can't wear it, you can't live in it, you can't drink it, smoke it, snort it, you can't travel to it. Happiness is the experience of the journey. It's like brushing your teeth or driving your car. It's a second nature kind of thing, and it doesn't come as a result of anything. Because if you're waiting for results to make you happy, they're going to be good results and bad results. So you'll be happy sometimes and sad other times. The experience of happiness becomes a way of looking at everything. And so I am happy because that's the way I am, because that's the way I've been thinking. But it isn't a result of anything that's happened to me. I just decided to be a happy guy. And so when I look at something, I say, can do, no problem. That's not going to make me unhappy. And they say, come on, you just came back from Africa. There are 400,000 child refugees from AIDS over there. Don't tell me that doesn't make you sad. I said, it makes me compassionate. It makes me want to do something. It makes me grateful that I live where I live. It makes me not want to waste. It makes me want to help them. But it can't make me unhappy, because if it makes me unhappy, I wouldn't have the energy or the excitement to help them. I wouldn't have the passion, because passion, in my case, comes from being excited and being happy.
And that's powerful, is that it's a choice. And that's a really
Happiness is a choice. It really is a choice. And people say, come on, how can I be happy? And you say, well, try it. You know.
Because for people thinking that it's going to take something else, when they get that something else, then they start to realize, well, maybe this is not it. Maybe it's going to take something else. So they're always looking for something else to make them happy. And that's probably one of the reasons that actually causes some of the addictions and some of the things that we have, is because once they realize it's not that, they start feeling depressed. And, oh, my goodness, what is it? And then they start all this addictive behavior.
Well, a lot of there's an answer to a riddle, too. And the riddle is, do we sing because we're happy, or do we become happy because we sing? But yes, the answer is true. So let's say you're not happy. I believe that if you sing a happy song, the lyrics and the tune will create more happiness in you. So as simple as it sounds, if you're singing a happy song, the mind doesn't know the difference that you're unhappy or happy. So when I sing, you know, it's like whistling when you're afraid.
Right, exactly, yeah, that's right.
You say, why are you whistling? Well, I'm afraid, and I'm trying to whistle myself out of being afraid. Well, it really happens that way. And so I try to sing a happy song in life, even if I'm not really happy at the moment, and it gets me back into where I think I belong.
Wow. So as we're wrapping up here, why do you feel it's important for people to come to events like the Jim Rohn Leadership event that we're at right now, and all the different trainings that you do and Brian Tracy does and all the other trainers out there that have great and valuable information to share? Why do you think that's important for people who are listening or watching right now to constantly engage themselves in that type of activity?
Because 90% of what you'll ever see and hear is negative on a daily and nightly basis, and you have to do something to overcome that. And I think Zig says it best, you know. He and I started speaking together about 1974.
Wow.
And he said that just because you take a bath, that doesn't mean you don't need to take one tomorrow.
Wow.
So one bath does not make you clean, and therefore one seminar does not change your life. Billy Graham and I are really good friends, and he said, I don't change lives, Dennis. I give them information, and I give them maybe a little bit of input to cause them to think a little more. But he said they'd have to come to hundreds and hundreds of meetings before they would decide to really make a change. So I think these meetings are catalysts. They're constant reminders that we can do this stuff if we just keep that more in mind than the evening news.
That is excellent. Now, I know that people that are listening and watching right now, they can go to jimrohn.com and find some of the materials that you have, but you also have a website that have a lot more materials that they're not going to be able to find there. Is it DennisWaitley.com?
Sure, they can go to DennisWaitley.com or just Waitley.com, just WAITLEY.com.
Okay, and if they go to Dennis, they spell it with one N.
Yes. Yeah, if they go to Dennis Waitley, yeah, I'm a one-N Dennis. My mom lost an N.
Well, Dennis, we appreciate your time, your energy, and I thank you personally for over all the years of coming out with the empowering information that actually empowered my life and actually allowed me to create millionaire status and be able to produce great results in my life and go out there and share with other people. So on behalf of myself and all the other people at this Jim Rohn Leadership event and all the other people that are watching and that are listening that don't happen to be at this event right now, we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart and say keep up the great work out there and keep empowering people like you do.
Thank you very much, and you've got the baton for the next generation.
Thank you.
I'll gladly hand it to you.
I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now let me give you one more scenario on setting goals. When I started making my first list, Mr. Shoaff said, Mr. Rohn, looks like we're going to be together for a while. He said, I've got a suggestion for you. He said, I think one of the first goals you ought to set, you're a 25-year-old American male, sure you've made some mistakes, but now you're on the road to better things. You got a family, worth it. Reasons makes the difference. And he said, you've got every reason to do this. He said, why don't you, among all the goals you're going to set, he said, why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? A millionaire. This is America. All the possibilities are available. Why don't you set a goal to become a millionaire? He said, it's got a nice ring to it. Millionaire. Enough zeros to impress your accountant? Millionaire. And he said, here's why. Now I thought, the man doesn't need to teach me why. I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to have $1 million? He said, no. That's not it. Here's why. And I had one of the greatest lessons I ever learned, and I'm about to share it with you. This will be worth the price of being here today if you can capture what I'm about to share with you. Babysitter fees, whatever else you paid. Some of you missed some sales today to be here, so this is a costly day for you. But what I'm about to share with you changed my whole life. Here's what Mr. Shoaff said. Set a goal to become a millionaire. And he said, here's why. For what it will make of you to achieve it. And I got one of the greatest classes in one sentence I've ever received in my life. Set a goal that'll make you stretch that far. For what it will make of you to achieve it. What a brand new reason for setting goals. What an all-encompassing challenge to have a better vision of the future. What for? To see what it will make of you to achieve it. And here's why. The greatest value in life is not what you get. The greatest value in life is what you become. Major question to ask on the job is not, what am I getting here? That's not the major question. The major question to ask is, what am I becoming here? It's not what you get that makes you valuable. It's what you become that makes you valuable. So Shoaff said, set a goal to become a millionaire. For what it will make of you to achieve it. Then he said, when you finally have become a millionaire, now, he said, what's important is not the money. I thought, wow, I've got some more to learn. He said, no, Mr. Rohn, I'm telling you honestly, you could just give the money away. Now, I did better than that, right? I told you. I lost it all. I'm rich by the time I'm 31. I'm a millionaire. I'm broke by the time I'm 33. So I didn't have to give it all away. I lost it all. Foolish mistakes I made. I'm a farm boy from Idaho. That early money drove me bonkers. I used to say, how many colors does it come in? I'll buy them all. I I went crazy over that first money. I just went crazy. And then I made that one foolish mistake, right? Continuing guarantee. I mean, I'm so naive off the farm. I don't know what continuing means. And a few other mistakes. And by the time I'm 33, I'm broke. Now, I've made and lost millions since then. But what an experience that was. And I'm telling you, the man was right. When I finally was broke at age 33, guess what I discovered? My money did not mean that much. It represented only a fraction of all my assets. Shoaff said, once you become a millionaire, Mr. Rohn, you can give all the money away. Because he says, what's important is not the money. What's important is the person you've become. Now, let me give you the key phrase on setting goals. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. Set the kind of goals that will make something of you to achieve them. Always keep that in mind. What will this make of me? If I set this goal and go for it, not only will I achieve it, but what will it make of me in the process? What a whole new concept on setting goals. Now, there's two parts to this, and then we're wrapping up goals. Here's the first part now in this goal setting for what you become. Number one, don't set your goals too low. Interesting, we teach in leadership. You'll find it on the cassettes. Don't join an easy crowd. You won't grow. Go where the expectations are high. Go where the demands are high. Go where the pressure's on to perform, to grow, to change, to develop, to read, to study, to develop skills. I belong to a small group. We do business around the world. You cannot believe the expectations at that level. What we expect of each other in terms of excellence, far beyond average. Why? So that we can each grow, so that we can receive from the group, we can contribute to the group, something unprecedented. It's called living at the summit. Go where the demands are high. Go where the expectations are strong, so that it'll provoke you, push you, urgently insist that you not remain the same for the next couple of years, the next 5 years, that you'll grow and change. So don't set your goals too low. The guy says, well, I don't need much. Well, then you don't need to become much. Now, here's the last part on setting goals. Don't compromise. Don't sell out. There were some things I went for back in those early years that I paid too big a price for. If I'd have known how much it was going to cost me, I never would have paid, but I didn't know. So don't sell out. Ancient phrase says, count the cost, count the cost, count the cost. An ancient story says, Judas got the money. You say, well, that's a success story. No. It's true, 30 pieces of silver in those days was a sizable fortune. You say, well, if a guy's got a fortune, right, that's a success story. No, you don't understand. His name was Judas. Doesn't that ring a bell? Judas. You say, oh, yes, Judas, the traitor. That's right, the traitor got the money. Doesn't that change the story? And the answer is, of course, it changes the story. Interestingly enough, after Judas gets the money from becoming a traitor, he's got the money in his hot little hand, and now he's unhappy. Somebody says, well, if you had a fortune, how could you be unhappy? Well, he wasn't unhappy with the money. He was unhappy with himself. Key phrase, the greatest source of unhappiness is self-unhappiness. The greatest source of unhappiness doesn't come from outside. The greatest source of unhappiness comes from inside. And here's where the erosion starts, doing a little less than you could. That's where the beginning little infection of unhappiness starts, doing a little less than you can, not feeling that good about yourself. So don't let that happen. Judas is unhappy. He says, what'll I do? He says, oh, I'll just take the money back. Walked in where he got the money and said, here, take this money, I'm unhappy. They said, heck with you, Judas. We got what we wanted, you got what you wanted, out. They threw him out with his money. Judas says, well, what'll I do now? He says, oh, clever. Should have thought of this first. I'll just throw the money away. And he proceeded to throw his fortune away. Why would he throw his fortune away? He was so unhappy with himself. And that's not even the end of the scenario. After he threw his fortune away, he couldn't change what he became, a traitor. And now, in total abject frustration, he goes out and hangs his worthless self, which all traitors should do, save the state the money. Why such a tragic end? Because he was so unhappy with himself. He sold out. He sold out. He paid too big a price. Ancient script sums it all up and said, what if you gained the whole world and it cost you your soul? Too big a price to pay if you got the whole world. Don't sell out. Don't compromise your values. Don't compromise your virtues. Don't compromise your philosophy. Key. Here's the key word, beware. If Judas could speak back, he'd probably say beware. Two good words from ancient script. One, behold, the positive word. Behold the possibilities, behold the opportunity. Behold the drama, behold the awesomeness, behold the uniqueness. Behold the majesty, behold, behold. What a good word. But here's the other word, beware, beware, beware. Don't sell out. Mark well what you become in pursuit of what you want. But I'm inspiring you, hopefully, to set the kind of goals that'll transform your life, make you far better than you are, far stronger than you are. Okay. Isn't this good advice? This is such good stuff. I should have paid to get in, right? Fabulous. What should a child do with $1? Let me give you the best advice I've got. And this is called sort of middle of the road scenario, and I'll show you how these numbers may change, but here's what I teach. Kids, never spend more than 70 cents. Okay, now you got to pick some number. When I met Mr. Schoaf, I was at about 110%. But remember this, if your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall. Good little scenario. So here's the number that I found works best in developing a good financial plan. Never spend more than 70 cents out of every dollar from now on. Now kids ask me what? What do you do with the other 30 cents? Here's my best advice. 10 cents, charity. 10% charity. Supporting worthy projects, helping people who cannot help themselves. Some churches teach tithe, peace, portion. Turning back part of what you take out. Excellent, excellent philosophy. That's what that 10% is. And nothing teaches children responsibility and character better than generosity. No school, no class, no teacher can teach character better than the simple act of generosity. 10 cents out of every dollar. Now you can pick your own number. I'm just giving you my best scenario. Now the time to start this is when the amounts are small. Easy to give a dime out of $1. I'm telling you, kids will give you 10 cents out of every dollar if it's part of their philosophy, if you sell them on it. And that's the time to start, when it's easy, 10 cents out of $1. A little harder to give 100,000 out of $1 million. Someone says, oh, if I had $1 million, I'd give 100,000. I'm not that sure. We better start you early when the amounts are small, so it'll all be set in when the big amounts start to come. Okay? So 10 cents for charity. The next 10 cents I call active capital. Capital meaning try to make a profit yourself. We live in a capitalistic society. Right? Everybody now wants to join capitalism. That's why the walls are coming down. Capital belongs in the hands of the people. That's where the genius is. So the genius is to try to show a profit. Buy and sell. Render service. Show a profit. Now here's what I teach kids. Profits are better than wages. Wages are okay, but wages help you make a living. Profits help you make a fortune. The key is to just understand philosophically a little simple economic scenario. And there's all kinds of ways to make a profit. I'm working on a new book. Here's what it's called. I think it's going to be called, Of Course Kids Should Pay Taxes. It's going to be an interesting book. In California, where I live, kids do pay taxes. If an 8-year-old walks into 7-Eleven, buys something that costs $1, the proprietor makes him cough up 7 more pennies. 8-year-old says, "What's these 7 pennies?" Proprietor says, "That's taxes. That's taxes." Kid says, "Well, I'm only 8. Proprietor says, "Congratulations, you're my youngest taxpayer." So in California, kids do pay taxes. Now the question is, should they? Now the title of my book is, Of Course Kids Should Pay Taxes. You got it. Right? The disciple went and caught a fish, found the miracle coins, and paid his taxes and Jesus' taxes. So way back then, Jesus did pay taxes. Now the question is, should he? And the answer in my little book says, of course Jesus and kids should pay taxes. Of course. Of course. If an 8-year-old wants to ride his bicycle on the sidewalk instead of in the mud, you have to pay taxes. Things cost money. Got to pay taxes. Aircraft carriers keep tyranny over there instead of over here. When you left your hotel room to turn out the lights. All educated people. Why? Leave a profit. It's so easy to flip the switch and leave a profit. Some say, well, the hotel gets the profit. What do you care? All you need to become is a person who leaves a profit. Wow. I talked to a man who runs a whole string of apartments. He said, guess what? Most people, when they rent an apartment, leave it, what? Trashed, worse than they found it. What kind of a reputation would that be? Whatever you touch turns to trash. Whatever you touch gets dirty. Nothing you touch gets better. See, that's a poor philosophy. No wonder it leads to poverty, small lives. As one writer said, living lives of quiet desperation. This is where it all begins. Failure to leave a profit when you can, turn out the lights, doesn't matter what it is. Become profit-minded. Profits are better than wages because profit has the potential to make a fortune. Wages has the potential to make a living. So I teach kids, take part of your wages. If you earn the money, take part of it for charity and part of it to see if you can't make a profit. And there's all kinds of ways. My book's going to be full of all kinds of ways kids can make money. I teach kids how to have 2 bicycles, one to ride and one to rent. I mean, it doesn't take long to get into business. You don't have to be a genius. Halfway bright, you can start showing a profit. Now, here's the next 10 cents called passive capital. Meaning, let somebody else use the capital, you provide it, you're passive, they're active. And let them pay you interest. Profits and interest. Unique way to make a fortune. In fact, there's a Bible philosophy. I teach teenagers this Bible philosophy. Here's what it teaches. The borrower is servant to the lender. Wow. So where is the power position? Not a spender, a lender. And if I've taught teenagers well, if you ask them, among some of the things you want to be, when you grow up, as years pile on, what would you like to be? I'm telling you, among some of the things that they would like to be, if they've sat in on my classes or gotten some of my material, they will say, I want to be one of them lenders. Powerful position. Let somebody else use your capital. Some projects require more capital than any one person has. So we've got capital pools, whether you put it in a financial institution or whatever, right? Earn an interest, earn a profit, right? Buy a car and sell it for more than you paid for it. Why? Because you leave it better than you found it. Touch something and leave a profit. Okay? It's not just wrapped up in money and economics. This helps to teach all other scenarios of life on profit and capital and expenditures, what to do with your time and what to do with your life, and as well as what to do with your money. Okay? Now, this little scenario I call the ideal. Now, here's what's important. To set up the ideal and work toward it. Because at first you may not be able to do these numbers. Some people are in such desperate situation currently, they got to go 97, 1, 1, and 1. I mean, you know, I had to start there. Start with pennies. And remember, it's not the amount that counts. Mr. Schoaf gave me the clear situation. Here it is. It's not the amount that counts, it's the plan that counts. When I met Mr. Schoaf, I'm 25 years old. I said to him, if I had more money, I'd have a better plan. He said, no, Mr. Rohn, if you had a better plan, you'd have more money. 6 years? 6 years? In America, 6 years? Come on, it's not the money, it's not the amount, it's the plan that counts. So set up an ideal plan like this. Now you can rearrange this and modify it to suit yourself. I'm just giving you here as an example. So set up the ideal and then start making progress toward it. Okay. Because finally these numbers are going to change if you move on up into the higher area, right? The people I work with around the world couldn't spend 70 cents out of every dollar. It would be obscene. That'd be too much. So these numbers are bound to change. I don't know what mine are. Probably 20% up here. A lot larger numbers down here. Okay? So these numbers can change. I'm just offering you a good sample philosophy. Remember, philosophy is the set of the sail. The economy is not the set of the sail for you. For you, the set of the sail is your own philosophy, your own thinking, your own plan, your own concept. Don't borrow somebody else's plan. Don't borrow somebody else's concept. Don't borrow the concept, you know, spend all you can, cross your fingers and hope for the best. Don't borrow that. Develop your own philosophy, and I'm telling you, it'll lead you to unique places. Now, the rest of a lot of this is on the cassette tapes, but let me just give you 2 or 3 more pieces of the scenario here. Then I want to talk about communications, and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay. Here's 2 or 3 more parts to financial independence. Number 1, keep strict accounts. This is the best of disciplines. Keep strict accounts. Did you ever hear this expression? I don't know where it all goes. Did you ever hear that? I don't know where it all goes. Oh, we'd love to have you run our company. You don't know where it all goes. Whoa. Did you ever hear this? It just gets away from me. It just seems it just gets away from me. Oh, we'd love to turn the world over you. It just gets away from you. Come on. You got to have better disciplines than that. Let that be the 90%. Let that be the scenario of the 97%. But don't let it be your scenario. Don't let it become your philosophy. Keep strict accounts. Next, a new attitude. I had to develop a new attitude as well as new concepts. Here's what I used to say. I hate to pay my taxes. Schoaf said, well, that's one way to live. I thought, well, doesn't everybody hate to pay their taxes? He said, no. No, a few of us have gotten way past that. He says, once you understand what taxes are, here's what taxes are in our governmental system in our society. Taxes is how you care and feed the goose that lays the golden eggs. Democracy and liberty and freedom. Free enterprise. Wouldn't you want to feed the goose that lays the golden eggs? Somebody says, well, the goose eats too much. That's probably true. I understand that. Of course that's true. But see, better a fat goose than no goose. And here's the truth be known. We all eat too much. Let not one appetite accuse another. Of course the government needs to go on a diet. So do most of us. But hey, you still have to care and feed the goose that lays the golden eggs. Once you understand that that's what it's for. See, it is so important, the right attitude. Here's what I used to say. I hate to pay my bills. You open up the mails, nothing but these window envelopes, bills. I hate to pay my bills. Schoaf said, well, that's one way to live. I said, well, doesn't everybody hate to pay their bills? He said, no, some of us are way beyond that. I said, is it possible to love to pay your bills? He said, yes. Reduce your liabilities? Increase your assets? Wouldn't you love to do that? So start a whole new attitude here. Next time you pay $100 on an account, put a little note in there and say, with great delight, I send you this $100. I mean, they don't get many letters like that. Reduce my liabilities, increase my assets. My picture's changing. My picture's improving. I love to pay my bills. Keep the money in circulation. Pay my taxes. Feed the goose that lays the golden eggs. It's a matter of attitude. And here's the last on attitude. Everybody must pay. Of course, life is called opportunity, but life is called price. But we must all pay. We must all share. One of the classic stories of all time from ancient Bible script says, Jesus one day and his disciples were standing by the church treasury, synagogue treasury, watching people as they came by and put their offering in the treasury. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Jesus and his disciples standing by the treasury while everybody walks by. Jesus says, how much was that? How much was that? Interesting. And the story said some people came by, put in big amounts. Some people came by, put in modest amounts, average amounts. And the story says, then a little lady comes by and puts in 2 pennies in the treasury. Jesus says to his disciples, look at that. Look at that. His disciples said, 2 pennies, 2 pennies. What's 2 pennies? Jesus said, no, you don't understand. She gave more than everybody else. They said, 2 pennies is more than everybody else? He said, yes. Because I'm certain that her 2 pennies represented most of what she had. And if you give most of what you have, then you've given the most. Wow. What a lesson to learn. It's not the amount. It's what it represents of your life that counts. Now let me give you the wisdom of the scenario that did not occur. And this is the greatest of wisdom. And in my own particular, peculiar brilliance, I have the ability to record for you what was not recorded in the scenario of the story. Here's what did not occur, which may teach us one of the greatest of the wise things that was taught in this scenario. Here's what did not occur in the scenario. Jesus did not reach into the treasury and get this little lady's 2 pennies and run after her and say, here, little lady, my disciples and I have decided that you're so pitiful and you're so poor that we've decided to give you back your 2 pennies. I'm telling you, that did not occur. If it would have occurred, she would have been what? Insulted. She would have rightfully said, I know my 2 pennies aren't much, but it represented most of what I had. And would you insult me by not letting me contribute what I wanted to contribute, even if it's only 2 pennies? I'm telling you that did not occur. Here's part of the wisdom of the story that was not recorded. Jesus left her pennies in the treasury, meaning everybody has to pay, even if it's only pennies. That's the key. And whether you start with pennies or whether you start with dollars or whether you start with nothing, remember, part of the scenario is to spend, of course. Part of the scenario is to invest, and part of the scenario is to show a profit, and part of the scenario is to help take care of people who can't take care of themselves. If you'll set up your own philosophy, I'm not asking you to buy my philosophy. I'm not asking you to adopt my numbers. I'm only wanting to provoke you to think, for you to come up with a splendid economic philosophy that's got you up early and got you up late, has got you thinking and pondering ways to use your resources and turn it into the dreams you want for the future. And that's my little story on financial independence. Okay. Here's the next to the last subject, communication. How to affect other people with words. I've got just a little 4-point program here for you to consider. The whole expanded version now, 3 days, right? 3 days of all this is in that package that you're taking home. So this is called an abbreviated version of all the rest, this one day, video day. 4 steps to good communication. Here's number 1, first of all, words can work miracles. That's why communication is so important. Words can work miracles. Words are powerful. Words are almost godlike. In fact, ancient script says the Word was God. God was the Word. Wow, words and God. I said to my Israeli audience last year, in the beginning, the story of creation is unique. It says, in the beginning, Jehovah God spoke and said what? Got some students here, I'm sure. In the beginning, Jehovah God spoke and said what? Let there be light. And what? There was light. Wow! Wow! It looks like words create light. Is that possible? I'm telling you it's possible. Humans can get pretty close. What if somebody can't possibly see how they could do well, how they could become successful, how they could transform their lives and their health, their future, and their finances, spiritually, and every other way? They can't see, and you come along and share your story, and maybe borrow some other stories. And by the time you get through with a good presentation to this person, they say, now I can see. Before you got here, I was blind. I was in the dark. And while you were talking, some things dawned on me. Is it possible to create light with human intelligence, with words? And the answer is, of course, of course. Here's part of the spectacular opportunity as a human being. One person talking to another. It's got so much power, so much potential. A mother talking to a daughter, a father talking to a son, salesperson talking to a client. Nothing more magical and powerful, awe-inspiring than words have the ability to dramatically affect people's lives and futures. So become a good communicator. Let me give you some good keys to good communication. Here's number one, have something good to say. Communication starts with preparation. Getting ready to speak this year, getting ready to speak next year. Attend the classes, read the books. Have something good to say. Here's 4 good words to help you to have something good to say. One is interest. Develop a new interest in people and life and what's going on, economics and politics, religion, social structure, possibilities, opportunities. Develop a new interest. Here's the next word, fascination. Goes that step beyond interest. That's why kids learn so much that first 6 years. Fascination. Adults are walking on ants. Kids are saying, don't walk on these ants. I'm studying these ants. I'm looking at these ants. Kids are so fascinated. How come an ant can carry something bigger than he is? Wow. That's how come they learn so much. They're fascinated. And here's another little clue I've learned. Turn frustration into fascination if you can. You'll learn more. I've worked on this. I'm pretty good at it. Out in Los Angeles, I'm on the freeway. My airplane leaves in 45 minutes. The traffic is moving not 1 inch. I am now fascinated. I'm telling you. Now, it doesn't work every time. That's true, but every time it does work, I'm telling you, you'll come away with more. Learn to be fascinated instead of frustrated if you possibly can. Turn that little scenario on for yourself. Next is sensitivity. You got to understand, we use the phrase where people are coming from, where they've been, what's going on. Sensitivity training is so important. People not like you, people that have got challenges and problems and difficulties, you got to do your best to be sensitive to other people, where they find themselves, the pit they might be in currently, what's going on. Be sensitive to that. Here's 2 of the greatest things said about Jesus. 1, it said he was touched. He was touched by where he found some people. He was touched by the misery he found some people in. He was touched. He was touched. And here's the other word. He was moved, it said. He was moved, touched and moved. If you really want to communicate well, you got to be touched and moved. Not just by your own drama of life, but by the drama you know is going on in other people's lives. Sensitivity. How does an adult 40 talk to a child who's 12? You got to be sensitive. Not just to your current situation. One of the best ways to identify with a child who's 12 and you're 40 is remember when you were 12. Go back, remember the scenario and let it hit you again, let it touch you again. I don't have any problems with 12-year-olds. I remember almost every day of being 12. 12's a unique year. 1, you're not 13. I mean, you know. If I heard it once, I heard it 100 times. Of course you can't go. You're not a teenager. Wow, I can't wait for this year to be finished. Remember. That's part of sensitivity. Remember. Apostle. One who became an apostle, leader of the Christians, was once Saul from Tarsus, hater and killer of the Christians. After he was converted, became a leader, became Paul apostle, revered. Why was he so effective in his language, in his ability to touch people with his words and with his presence? If you read part of the scenario of his history, he gave an account of his own life and said, here's why I think I'm so effective. I remember the pit I came from. Sure, they call me apostle, but I used to kill these Christians, and I never forget that. If I want to get in touch with other people's difficulty, I got to remember my own difficulty. Let it hurt again. That's what makes a good performance. A good actor, a good actress. The emotion close to the surface from the remembrance of things past. And then well-chosen words delivered with emotion. Powerful. The last word is knowledge. You just got to go through exercises like this. Take the notes. Work hard. Roll up your sleeves. Go to work. Gather the knowledge in journals. Gather the knowledge in notebooks. Gather the knowledge in a library and cassettes and videos and every other means. Gather knowledge. Don't be lazy in learning. A major part of communication is preparation. Now here's the next part of good communication. Say it well. 1 is having something good to say. Number 2 is saying it well. Let me give you a quick list on saying it well. Number 1, sincerity. Best place to start if you want to communicate well is let your sincerity show. Next is repetition, the mother of skill. I've been at this 33 years. Someone says, well, you give a pretty good seminar. I should. 33 years? 33 years. Repetition. Next, brevity. Sometimes you don't need many words if you're totally sincere, I'm telling you. Jesus' presentation in gathering up his team called disciples was fairly short. He just walked around the countryside, took a look at somebody and said, you follow me. That's brief. I mean, you know, that's short. Now, why could he get by with such few words? And this takes care of a lot that I've tried to share with you today called personal development. Here's why I think Jesus could get by with such few words. For all that he was, that he didn't have to say. Take that scenario home. For all that I am, that I don't have to say. Just a few words could be dynamic in affecting someone else's life. A child, a business colleague, a sales client. Next, vocabulary. Got to work on your vocabulary. Some of my friends took a survey among prisoners working on some rehabilitation program. They weren't particularly looking for this, but here's what they found. There's definitely a relationship between vocabulary and behavior. And here's what they found out. The more limited the vocabulary, the more tendency to poor behavior. And when you think about it for a while, it makes sense. Words are a way of seeing. And if you don't have a good vocabulary, you can't see very well. Can you imagine the mistakes in judgment when you can't see very well? In a 10 by 12 cell, their world is so small anyway, don't need much bigger place. I'm asking you to stretch your vocabulary. I used to put words up on a 3 by 5 card. I drove a lot back in those days, but at the end of the day, I'd mastered 2 or 3 words. My oldest daughter, Linda, with my grandkids, starts the day with what's called the word for the day. She writes it on a chalkboard, the word for the day. And the kids memorize that word and the meaning of the word. And every once in a while during the day, she'll say, what's the word for the day? The last day I was there, the word was superficial. Natalie's 4, Nathaniel's 5. And several times during that day, Linda, my daughter, would say, what's the word for the day? Natalie would say superficial. And she would say, Nathaniel, what does that mean? On the surface. Several times during the day. What's the word for the day? Superficial. What does it mean? On the surface. If you were to ask my grandkids, the last time Grandpa was here, what was the word for the day? I'll bet you they'd probably know. Superficial. On the surface. Word for the day. Why not learn a word a day? Why not add to your vocabulary so you can see more, see better, and express better? Put out in words what's in your heart, what's in your soul, what's in your mind. It's important. So say it well. Here's number 3. Number 1 was have something good to say. Number 2, say it well. Here's number 3. Read your audience. These are just simple concepts now. You've got to add some of the details, but that's what I'm mainly good for, is concepts. Read your audience. If you're talking to a child, you've got to study the face of the child. You've got to study a little body language. You've got to study what's going on. So you'll know whether to shift gears, come on a little stronger, ease off a little, might be too strong, search for another illustration, soft, strong. A lot of that is dictated by reading your audience. When I first started lecturing, I had some challenges here. I was so absorbed in my notes, lecturing like this. I'm telling you, in those early days, the audience could have left and I'd have kept right on going. I didn't know what was going on down here. I didn't know what was going on over here. I didn't have any idea what was happening over here, whether I should come on a little stronger, ease back. I didn't know. I couldn't read my audience. So, read your audience. A prospect, read. Now let me give you some ways to read. Number 1, by what you see. Body language tells us some things. How to shift gears, whether to go on, whether to stop. If you're talking to somebody and they're leaning toward the door, that means you gotta hurry, right? They're not gonna be here long. Body language. Guy's got his arms folded, chin tucked down. You got your work cut out for you. You're gonna have to reach deep in your bag. Find some extraordinary stories. This one's not gonna be easy. What tells you that? Reading what you see. Here's the next one. Read what you hear. You've got to read a child's impatience. Kids don't mind telling you whether they're bored or impatient. Kids' attention span is short. Doesn't last long. You've got to get it said. You start talking to a child, 30 seconds they say, how long is this going to take? Whoa. Read. Listen. Listen for the response. Now you'll know whether to shift gears, change your language, find a new illustration, soften, stronger. Read your audience. Read what you see, read what you hear. And here's one of the most important. Read what you feel. Now, women are probably better at this than men when it comes to picking up emotional signals. Men, they can see, and men, they can hear, but it takes a little training for a man to pick up those emotional signals that are so important so you don't say the wrong stuff. Because it's so easy to make a mistake in language. What if you meant to say to someone you care about? What if you meant to say, what's troubling you? And instead you said, what's wrong with you? Communication. So read the emotional signals. If we could learn from the women on this emotion. Women have this uncanny antenna picking up this stuff. Woman says, doesn't feel right. I mean, what does that mean? It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. Whoa. Women have got it, though. Seems to be built in. Especially danger. Women pick it up quicker than men. It's built in, I think. Way back, right? Man was the provider. Mama was the protector at home. So she picked up this scenario of danger, I think, these signals. But they are good. In the middle of the night, Mama wakes up. The baby cries. Mama wakes up. Papa sleeps. The faintest cry. Mama's awake. Or she nudges her husband and says, go look, something isn't right. He says, what do you mean it isn't right? She says, no, go look. He said, hey, everything's okay. She says, go look. He says, okay. And he gets out of bed, goes downstairs. The front door is open. How did she know that? We don't know. I mean, she just knows. She just knows. But I'm telling you, it's so valuable in communication to be able to pick up the emotional signals as well as what you see and as well as what you hear. It's so important. But women are good. Ancient scenario says this: there are shepherds and there are sheep and there are wolves. What a good life scenario. But it doesn't stop there. This ancient scenario says also, some wolves are so clever, they've learned to dress up like sheep. Now you got to have a woman. Got to have a woman. Man says, looks like a sheep, talks like a sheep. Woman says, ain't no sheep. Take my word for it. Well, they know. Read. Pick up the signals. Don't ignore the signals. Develop this personal development scenario, communication, financial independence, and all the rest. Now here's the last part. Intensity. Words mixed with emotion. Words mixed with hate. Words mixed with love. Words mixed with faith. Words mixed with courage. That's what's powerful. Words have a certain effect, but words loaded with emotion have an incredible effect. If I had a little straight pin, a guy buys a shirt, it's got all these little pins in it. I take out all these pins. If I took one of those little straight pins and I threw it at you, and let's say it reached you and hit you in the face or hit you in the hand, you'd feel it. This little straight pin, you'd feel it. That means I got you with my words. But what if I took that little straight pin and wired it to the end of an iron bar about that long? See, I could drive that pin through your heart. The pin is the words, the iron bar is the emotions. The emotions. Here's the best I could share with you. Put more of you into what you say. Don't be casual in language. Don't be casual in words. Casualness leads to casualties on the freeway and in communication. Don't be lazy in learning good communication. And put more of you. Now here's the last thought. The emotions must be measured. It can't be too much for the occasion if it's not called for. In leadership we teach, don't shoot a cannon at a rabbit. It's effective, but you got no more rabbit. So here's some of the most powerful scenario in communication. Here it is. Well-chosen words mixed with measured emotion. The basis of affecting people with good communication. Well-chosen words mixed with measured emotion. And one last point on communication. The more you care, the stronger you can be. The more you care as a mother, the stronger you can be with your children. The more you care as a father, the stronger you can be. The more you care as a leader, the stronger you can be in helping to solve problems, getting on somebody's case. The more you care. But you got to care. I don't mind a minister consigning my soul to hell fire for my sinful ways. I don't mind that. If he believes it, I don't mind him consigning my soul to hellfire for my sinful ways, as long as he does it with tears and not with joy. If you're going to preach a message on hellfire and consign people to hell's fire, you got to cry and sob your way through a sermon on hellfire. We would all dismiss as a performance a dry-eyed sermon on hellfire. You can't legitimately preach hellfire unless your heart breaks. Otherwise, it's a performance. Otherwise, we could all dismiss it. Why? The heart's not there. There are some conversations that don't make sense unless they're accompanied by tears. It doesn't mean anything unless it's accompanied by a broken heart. Learn measured emotions. Remember, draw from well-chosen words, expanded vocabulary. Be interested and fascinated. Pull all this together. I'm telling you, your ability to touch other people will grow day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. Here's my last subject. It comes in two parts. First is the negative part. And I got just a couple of tips for you on negative. There wouldn't be positive without negative. It's part of the life scenario. Ancient script says it best. There's a time to laugh. And once you've learned to laugh, just keep on laughing. No. Just get another positive book. No. There's a time to laugh, what? And a time to cry. And you've got to become so sophisticated and so well educated that you don't laugh when it's time to cry. And you've also got to learn to cry well. How are you going to identify with some people if you don't cry with them? It's very important. The negative side is very important. Negative thinking. I teach kids, and you'll find it on those cassettes, the ant philosophy. Let me just give you the quick scenario on the ant philosophy. Number one, ants never quit. What a good philosophy. If they're going somewhere, you stop them, guess what? They'll look for another way. How long will they look? Till they find it, or till they die. What a great philosophy. But here's number two. I can't give them all to you, but here's number two. Ants think winter all summer. You've at least got to be that bright. You can't think summer all summer. You got to do some winter thinking in the summer. You say, well, the sky is blue, the clouds are fleecy. You can't be faked out by that. Ancient story says, don't build your house on the sand in the summer. Why would we be cautioned not to build our house on the sand in the summer? Because it's easy to get faked out. So what should you do during the summer? Think winter. Think storm. That'll drive you to find a rock in the summer when the sky is blue. Key, negative is normal. You got to handle it. You can't dismiss it. It's part of the life scenario, like your white corpuscles we talked about earlier. So don't ignore it. Let it be part of the scenario. Here's the key. Learn to master it. Negative is not to be ignored. It's to be mastered. It makes us better than we are to wrestle with it. It makes us better than we are to be alerted to tyranny that moves into Kuwait, or ignorance that moves into your life, or procrastination that moves in and robs you of your fortune, or poor health that's going to be the legacy of those who neglect their health disciplines. You got to do battle with the enemies on the outside and on the inside. So learn how to handle the negative. And now here's the last, called the positive. Let me give you the day that turns your life around, as quickly as I can. I got 4 parts to the day that turns your life around, and then we're finished for the day. Number 1, disgust. Disgust. Disgust is a negative emotion, but it can have a very positive, powerful effect. Disgust says, I've had it. What an important day that could be. I've had it. Wow. I met a beautiful, powerful, accomplished executive lady in New York. The company invited me to come in. This lady was a vice president, extraordinary lady. I got to know her, and I found out her story. I said, how did you get here? Big income. And she never went to college, never went to university. I said, how did you get here? Executive, powerful, income. She said, well, let me tell you part of the scenario. She said, when I was a young mother a few years ago, she said, one day I asked my husband for $10. And he said, what for? She said, before that day was over, I decided I would never, ever ask again. She said, I started studying opportunity, found it, took the classes, put myself through the schools, did the scenario. Now I'm vice president. I make a lot of money. And she said, I kept my promise. I've never, ever had to ask again. It's called a life-changing day. The day you say, enough is enough. Now, if you can add an act to your disgust, it helps. A man takes a shotgun to his car, blows out every window, destroys every tire, puts 100 rounds in it, and says, I've driven this embarrassing thing for the last time. And then he saves it. He saves it. And later when somebody says, how did you become rich and powerful? He says, let me show you this car. One day I'd had it up to here, I blew it to smithereens. Enough is enough. Powerful. Here's the last three. Next is decision. Decision-making is a life-changing day. If you went home today and in the next few days cleaned up a list of decisions, it could furnish enough inspiration for the next 5 years, 10 years. What an inspiring day, the day you can bring yourself to decide. And here's the third one, desire, wanting to bad enough. Who knows the mystery of that? We don't know. But here's something I do know. Sometimes desire waits for a trigger, waits for something to happen. Who knows what the happening may be? A song, the lyrics, a movie, the dialogue, a seminar, a sermon, a book, an experience, confrontation with an enemy, a conversation with a friend who finally levels with you. Whatever the experience it is, it's so valuable. And here's my best advice. Welcome all experiences. You never know which one is going to turn everything on. Don't put up the walls. The same wall that keeps out disappointment keeps out happiness. Take down the walls. Go for the experience. Let it teach you. And here's the last one. Resolve. Resolve says I will. Two of the most powerful words in the language. Benjamin Disraeli said, nothing can resist a human will that will stake its existence on its purpose. Shortly put, I'll do it or die. Best definition of resolve I got from a little junior high girl, Foster City, California. I'm going through some words one day. I got to this one and I asked the kids, who can tell me what resolve means? Some didn't know, some tried. Interesting. The last one was the best. Little girl about 3 rows back, she said, I think I know, Mr. Rohn. I said, what? She said, I think resolve means promising yourself you will never give up. I said, that's the best I've ever heard. She's probably giving seminars somewhere today, right? I mean, that's the best I've heard. I asked the kids, how long should a baby try to learn how to walk? How long would you give your average baby? Before you say, hey, enough's enough. No. Any mother in the world would say, you're crazy. My baby is going to keep trying what? Until. What a magic word. I want you to write it down. Until. Promise yourself you'll read the books until your skills change. You'll go to seminars until you get a handle on it. You'll listen to it until it makes sense. You'll go for it until you understand it. You'll practice it until you develop the skill. Never give up until, however long that is. Step by step, piece by piece, book by book, word by word, apple by apple. Walk around the block, walk around the block. Go for it. Don't miss the chance to grow. And resolve that you'll pay the price until you learn, change, grow, become. Then you'll discover some of life's best treasures when you pay that price. Now here's my last word to you. As leaders in the community, I'm sure you are. Parents, the greatest challenge of leadership is parenting. Whether you're in sales or management, wherever I've found you today, I want to give you, from my heart to you, what I wished you would do from this seminar today. And if I've inspired you to do this part here, among all the other things I've talked about, I would have considered it worthwhile to leave my family, fly away from my home, drop down into Fort Worth, Dallas, and spend one of my very precious days with you. If I can accomplish this, it'll all be worthwhile. It comes in two parts, and here it is. One, Learn to help people with their lives, not just their jobs. Learn to help people with their lives, not just their skills on the job. Touch people with a book, touch people with a poem, touch people with some words. Don't fail to say something that could be meaningful. Help people with their lives, help them set their goals. Help them with their dreams, help them with the future, help them with errors, help them with mistakes. Help people. Help your kids not just get along, not just hang in there, not just try to hold the family together. Try to build lives with communication, build lives with setting goals. Help your kids with their lives, not just their homework, their lives. And here's my last one for you personally, because I'm probably one of the best examples of this standing before you in this auditorium today. Here it is. Ancient script says, if you work on your gifts, they will make room for you. If you work on your gifts, they will make room for you. Wow. Look where my gifts have brought me today, to this room. Gifts.